somewhere in China.
In the world's time zones, each and every one covered like a blanket by this program, Coast to Coast AM. I'm Art Bell, here to escort you through the weekend. Actually, it's my honor and privilege to do so. Speaking of honors, they've rolled my way this year. It really has been something. Listen, I got a note from my boss, which essentially said, hey, Art, it really is your year. You've been nominated for the National Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago. And that really is an honor. And so there you have it. I'm honored. That doesn't mean I'm in the National Radio Hall of Fame. It means I'm nominated to be in it. And I guess the voting occurs sometime later in the year, and then you're inducted or not inducted or whatever happens. So just being nominated, from my point of view, is an extreme honor. Here is webcam. Right. If you go to coasttocoastam.com, upper left-hand side, Art's webcam is me. And that was taken just a few hours ago. And by the way, for those of you wondering, there's no more worrying about a baby day. Asia Rain Bell will be here June 1st, right around noontime. So don't expect me on that weekend. I will be busy. So that's actually Friday, the 1st. It's about noontime. All right, looking at the normally depressing, never disappointing from that point of view, world news. President Bush on Saturday said Iran's capture of 15 British sailors and Marines was, quote, inexcusable, and called for Iran to give back the hostages immediately and unconditionally. Bush said Iran plucked the sailors out of Iraqi waters. Iran's president said Saturday they were in Iranian waters and called Britain and its allies, that would be us, arrogant and selfish for not apologizing for trespassing. There'll be more news on Iran here in a moment. The U.S. military death toll in March, the first full month of the security crackdown, was nearly twice that of the Iraqi army. Now that's pretty worrisome, considering this crackdown is supposed to be the Iraqis cracking down, and we had double their fatalities. The Iraqis suffered 44, we suffered 81. It just keeps going up. Residents of 200 homes were ordered to evacuate Saturday. All the news covered it as wildfires burned out of control in hills and canyons east of Los Angeles, very near the Hollywood side. The fire burned about 1,400 acres or 2.1 square miles and had burned a shed and the roof off a house in the area where residents were being evacuated. In Atlanta, Georgia, 3 people were shot during an attempted robbery at a shopping mall Saturday. One person critically wounded. Authorities were still piecing together what happened. It said the shootings happened around 5:15 in the afternoon at the store at Greenbrier Mall. One of the injured people was a security guard. When in the world ever happened robberies where people didn't get shot, and now it's multiple people? So that's kind of a good little test of and taste of how the news could be pressing. There just is not good news reported, and that worries me because, as you know, I've done a lot of work in consciousness, and I'm very, very concerned that we are feeding a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or at least I'm not saying we are, and I'm not ruling it in or out, but I'm a little concerned about it. Well, just one more little item, and this is all over the net, so I have no way of knowing if it's true, but it's worrisome. Russian military intelligence services are reporting a flurry of activity by U.S. armed forces near Iran's border. The latest military intelligence data, now this is from Russia, bear in mind, point to heightened U.S. military preparations for both an air and ground operation against Iran. Adding, the Pentagon has probably not yet made a final decision as to when any attack would be launched, according to one unnamed official. He said the Pentagon is looking for a way to deliver a strike against Iran that would enable the Americans to bring the country to its knees at minimal cost. He also said the U.S. naval presence in the Persian Gulf has, for the first time in the past 4 years, reached the level that existed shortly before the invasion of Iraq in March of 2003. Colonel General Leonid Ishimov, Vice President of the Academy of Geopolitical Sciences, said last week the Pentagon is planning to deliver a massive airstrike on Iran's military infrastructure in the near future. A new U.S. carrier battle group has been dispatched to the Gulf. The USS Dom C. Stennis, a crew of 3,200, around 80 fixed-wing aircraft, including FA-18 Hornets and Super Hornet fighter bombers, 8 support ships, 4 nuclear submarines, all headed for the Gulf, where a similar group led by the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower has been deployed since December of 2006. The U.S. is also sending Patriot anti-missile systems to the region. So that, if true, is certainly a worrisome sign. In a moment, as Paul would say, the rest of the news. All right, this, as the news people say, just in. A key element of the second major report on climate change, which is being released Friday in Belgium, is a chart that maps out the effects of global warming, most of them bad, with every degree of temperature rise. There is one bright spot. Minimal heat rise means more food production in northern regions of the world. However, the number of species going extinct will rise with the heat, as does the number of people who may starve or face water shortages or floods. According to projections in the draft obtained by the Associated Press, some scientists are calling this degree-by-degree projection a highway to extinction. It's likely to be the source of sharp, closed-door debate, say some scientists, along with a multitude of other issues in the 20-chapter draft report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You're going to hear a lot about this coming up. While the wording of the draft is almost guaranteed change at this week's meeting in Brussels, several scientists say the focus will. The final document will be the product of a UN network of 2,000 scientists as authors and reviewers, along with representatives of more than 120 governments worldwide, as last-minute editors. The second volume of a 4-volume report of the assessment of Earth's climate being released this year. The last such effort was in 2001. Andrew Weir, climate scientist from the University of Victoria, BC, said the chart of results from various temperature levels is, quote, a highway to extinction, but on this highway there are many turnoffs. This is showing you where the road is heading. The road is heading toward extinction. Weaver is one of the lead authors of the first report issued in February. Talk a lot about that. While humanity will survive, he says, hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people may not, according to the chart, if the worst scenarios happen. The worst stuff, quoting here, the worst stuff is not going to happen because we can't be that stupid. That's a direct quote from Harvard University oceanographer James McCarthy, who was a top author of the 2001 version of the report. Quote, not that I think the projections are not that good, but because we can't be that stupid. End quote. I wonder if he's right. Is that true? We just cannot be that stupid. More than 3/4 of the dangerous particulate pollution known as black carbon that flows through the west coast in the spring comes from Asian sources. China's new industrialization movement burns a whole lot of coal. Now that coal, rather, means we won't be able to clean up our pollution until we get China to clean up its act. Oh, good luck. Although the transported black carbon, most of which is soot, is an extremely small component of air pollution, although we've seen it here on the West Coast, at land surface levels, the phenomenon has a significant heating effect on the atmosphere. However, it also dims the surface of the ocean by absorbing solar radiation. That's the primary concern we have with these aerosols. They can really affect the global climate. Still worried about the bees, big time. State agricultural officials say a mystery disorder that's killed off half the commercial bees in some parts of the country is now in Arizona. It's also now in Oregon. It's called colony collapse. And it was in virtually every state of the union, except for a few, and now those few are beginning to go. Here in about, we are one of the last, I guess, to still have bees, last I heard, but state by state, we're beginning to lose them altogether, and I wonder what it means. Losing our bees. What would it mean if we lost our bees? I would like somebody to write a good piece on exactly what it would mean if we really lost all of our honeybees. Once that was a very, very far-fetched possibility indeed. But now we have them dying off. We don't have little bee bodies anywhere to dissect. They simply are gone, like they're abducted or something. Now, I said this a couple of weeks ago, and I'll say it again now. I've never been fully clear on what's in so-called chemtrails. But has anybody out there, anybody, put together chemtrails on the one hand, and bee death or disappearance or whatever's happened to them on the other hand? Entire colonies collapsing. Well, okay, if they all had dropped dead, little bee legs in the air and all that, that'd be one thing, but they're just disappearing, and I don't see how that can happen. We literally can't find any to dissect of those that have might have died. We don't really have a body to prove anything at all. Chemtrails. Bees, chemtrails. All right, in a moment, we're going to take unscreened open line calls. Now, what I've got to sort of pass on to you here is when you answer the phone, when I answer the phone, and you realize I have answered the phone, turn your radio down right away. Otherwise, you'll be confused hearing yourself many seconds later, and it is very confusing, actually. And so you'll sound confused on the radio, and you don't want that. Here are the numbers. West of the Rockies, 800-618-8255. East of the Rockies, 800-825-5033. If you're a first-time caller, we love those. Area code 818-501-4721. The wild card line. Actually, that sounds singular, but we have many. Area code 818-501-4109. And finally, internationally, yes, there is a way, and it's free wherever you are in the world. 800-893-0903. That's 800-893-0903. Let us begin. First time caller line. You are on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. Scott from Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've been thinking about these bees.
Yeah.
Isn't it pretty clear that what we've got is the bee rapture?
It's not like that, isn't it?
Yes, they just disappeared. Maybe another sign of end time.
Maybe
for bees.
Actually, if something like this occurred back, say, in the days of the Roman Empire, I'll bet you they would call it some sort of miracle, some sort of warning, some sort of, well, as you put it, sign of the end times.
Yes. Well, thanks, God. I love the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I hadn't thought of it that way. That is, say, as part of the end times, but if you look at what the scientists are saying, I guess that's to be. We couldn't possibly be that stupid, right? Wildcard line, you are on the air. Hi there.
There you are. How's it going?
Very well, sir. Where are you?
In Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just calling you. Used to see everything together, I guess. I've been listening for a while. I love the show, of course. Good one. But I was on the bee thing. I heard a little bit of Lindenball Cow.
Yes.
Lindenball Cows and the pesticides.
Yes. Well, there are all kinds of people out there, sir, that are sort of projecting possibilities, that it might be a sort of a soup of pesticides or something like that. But seems to be that wouldn't cause the bees to, as the last caller said, kind of be raptured away. It might cause them to be dead, but then we have a whole lot of bee bodies somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's none of those, are there?
No, like they've been abducted, raptured.
Yeah, that's very bizarre. Another thing that people might look into is the Oklahoma City bombing. I think it's still been unresolved, I guess. Of course, it may relate to the 9/11 information, but
I'm not sure what connection I see there. One was entirely domestic, the other not. Both involve buildings. I guess I could do that. But I don't think there's a connection. Now, the bee thing is worrisome, but it kind of goes along with all the other news we're getting, the environmental news. It's getting very serious. It really is getting very serious. Could we possibly be that stupid? In other words, as the signs continue from now, at what point will the consciousness of the world's people, not just us, the world's people say, hey, something's wrong. I'm Art Bell. Indeed, here I am. Marissa from Rio Del California. A million other people keep asking me, so I will repeat it once anyway here. This pizza topping that I've been talking about is available at, here's the website, artbellspizzapunch.com. That's Art Bell, plural, ARTBELLSPIZZAPUNCH.com. Pizza Punch. That's something Ramona and myself, mostly Ramona actually, discovered, my gosh, is it a decade ago now? I think a decade ago. I made promises about a decade ago, and now a decade later, here it finally is. Just amazing. All right, we're going to continue with unscreened open lines in a moment. All right, to the phones we go as promised. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Howdy.
Hi.
Hi there.
Real quick, are you familiar with who Chuck Stramick was? The EM News guy in Houston? He was,
Of course, I'm familiar with Chuck Stramick, the late Chuck Stramick. He's the one who really began all the talk about Hellbach.
yeah, in the chemtrails and all. I thought it was kind of strange. I live in the area, so I was listening to him every day. And towards the last week he was on the air, the other DJs were saying, oh, that's a bunch of hogwash. He was sick, and then 2 weeks later, finally kicked the bucket. I just thought that was rather odd how that all went down myself.
Well, it was odd. You're right. And I'm not implying that there was anything untoward about his passing, but yeah, he was very much ahead of his time in a lot of ways, and that does tend to happen to people who get ahead of their time with something or another, or at least it seems to. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about there's a liquidcomiccons.com and there's all the information on the
Okay, sir, I can't allow you to give a website on the air. There's an obvious reason for that, and I'll be glad to explain it to you, but just talk generally about the subject.
well, what I found, and I'll tell you what I found out so far.
About?
Chemtrails.
Sure.
They're supposedly contractors for the government that are spraying pesticides and herbicides. And they have a cocktail of viruses and bacteria that are also sprayed.
Well, look, all of this is, speculation, and so I'm glad I didn't allow you to do that website again. The reason we don't let people get websites on here is because we had an instance once of what sounded like a very innocent website having an element of pornography to it. So we just, pay it safe and don't allow websites to get it out anymore. Again, because we can't know the truth, except the story from the Idaho Observer, which I read a couple of weeks ago, that actually had a breakdown of the things found in chemtrail material, which was disgusting, all kinds of awful things. Once again, and it's utter speculation. I'm the one saying it. I'm saying chemtrails, bees, chemtrails. I'm saying the bees are gone because of the chemtrails. I'm just speculating. That's all. Two things that we cannot solve. Right? First time caller line, you're on the air.
Hi, I was calling about the bee issue you were talking about.
Yes, ma'am. Where are you?
I'm in California,
Okay.
and I don't know anything personally about the bees, but I subscribe to a paper that's called the Valley Voice. It's from the Central Valley. It's out of Visalia.
I thought you were going to tell me it was a Sacramento bee. Sorry.
No, but there was an article in the February 21st paper. It's called Mysterious Bee Death from the Central Valley.
Right.
And there are two different people that feel that it has to do with a pesticide that's being used.
Right.
And they talk about the fact that a similar thing happened in France in, 2001, 2003, something like that. And that Bayer, the company that did the product, the pesticide thing.
See, this is all speculation because I don't really know. It's not nailed down yet, so this is everybody's speculating.
Right, yeah, and that's all that they're saying, that the people there would not admit that they were responsible, but they did pay the French when their bee industry collapsed because of the use of that pesticide, which they then took off the market. And anyway, I was just going to let you know that that's an article that's there that has some information about the problem, but like I said, I don't personally know anything about the bees.
Well, here's the thing that gets me is that they're just gone. They're not finding bee bodies. It's not like, if it was something like a pesticide, then you'd find the bees with their little bee legs in the air, dead, right? We're talking about a majority of bees in a majority of the United States. That would be, I don't know how many millions or billions of bees, but so many that surely would find bee bodies. But like the earlier caller said, it's like they've been raptured or something. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, Art, this is Treetop calling you again.
Treetop, yes.
Yes, sir. I want to tell you a story one time. It's not a real strange story except for one thing about it. I was hauling gas in Alabama back in, it's 2004 this happened. An old boy had a bad mother left anyway. I rolled up on this accident and I spent a course over in the breakdown lane and I picked a tanker truck up ahead and I was the first vehicle that came up on it. And I didn't know what had happened, but I stopped in front of the other truck and walked back to the guy in the tanker truck. He was looking straight ahead. The truck was out of Texas. And I stepped up on the steps and the guy looked down at me and he was an elderly black man driving the truck. And his eyes were just pupil and all, eyes blue. He looked down at me, never said a word. It freaked me out. I wasn't called 911 and got the truck and left. I didn't know what to think about those eyes. What had happened before it was on the side of the road, he ran out in front of the truck and caught his head.
Oh my God.
And just took his head off. And I read about it in the newspaper later, and I didn't witness it.
Right. Well, at least you call 911. And I'm sure truckers run into this kind of thing all the time. No pun intended. They're on the road, so many hours a day, sometimes with teams. And so they're going to run into all kinds of accidents. And I think a lot of highway accidents get called in by truckers. They've got communication. No matter what you may hear about Citizen Band, and I know it's ridiculed them at the radio circles a lot. I'll tell you something, and this is a big admission, but if I were out on the highway and I needed help, I would much more likely get the Citizen Band than I would ham radio. And the reason for that is that virtually every truck out there has CB in it. And it's right there on the highway. It's a short-range communication medium that's been unfortunately populated by some undesirable people. Nevertheless, plenty of good people there too. I should say there's undesirable people. Plenty of good people there too. The fact of the matter is, you can get help there faster than you can get it anywhere else. And so, if you're on the highway a lot, you do very well to reach into the past. And people think it's only in the past. It's not. CB radio is alive and well today, and you'll get help that way. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right, sir. Where are you?
Right now I'm in Fishberry, Florida.
Okay. Fire away. You're on the air.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to tell you, I listened to the show last night. You know, they called in and was talking about some of the children race with people.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I never been interested in UFOs or basically the supernatural, but I lived in an area in California called Tonkin, California, and anyway, there was some strange activity going on. I seen what looked like a UFO. And then the next day, I was in my backyard looking at my horses. They were acting rather peculiar. And there, in a wooded area behind my house, I see this, this creature that was about 7 foot tall. And I had to shake my head because I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
Did this creature look reptilian to you?
I looked at it, and the head looked similar to kind of football shape body.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like it was actually going, translucent or transparent.
Well, once you've seen a translucent, scaly-looking football-headed thing, you've got to become a believer or adjust dosages of whatever you're taking.
No, let me tell you what happened.
Please.
So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm just seeing an outline or something to the truth. You know, it just went away. Well, I was going to school at the time, and the teacher there started talking about, UFOs. He brought up the subject, and I had never been on the internet, but I told him that, I thought I'd finished him one time, and he said, well, describe what you've seen. And I told him what I was telling you.
Yeah, there are a lot of time here, sir.
Okay, so he pulled it up on the website, and it's exactly what I described to him.
A reptilian.
Yeah, it was called reptilian, is what they call it.
Okay, well, now how can you not believe once you've seen with your own eyes?
I do believe it because I've researching it and watching it for 10 years in videos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, videos of UFO activity in that area.
Okay, well, then the answer is you do believe. And there's nothing like seeing something with your own eyes. As the song said, don't let anybody tell you what you haven't seen. And they will try. Believe me, they will try. Any excuse. You know, you had a little too much of this or that, as I sort of jokingly mentioned to him, or anything else they might suggest. You know, the moon was bright, the moon was small. You had an illusion. Anything except you saw something from somewhere else. Wildcard line, you're on the air. Yes, John.
Okay, why you don't get any normal life? When the UFO flew over, I know exactly where you was. But I think it was your house. Why didn't you and your wife grab a camera?
No, sir, we were on the way back. If you remember the story, we were on the way back from Las Vegas. We were about I can estimate for you about a quarter or a half mile away from our home when we stopped the car and saw it. So we were in a vehicle, pulled over to the side of the road. We were not at home. Otherwise, I promise you, I would have been running for a camera.
Okay, just have one more question here. I called on prediction night. That was when it blows the UFO spotting, the top level would actually triple. So you think right now that
Ding, ding, ding.
what's happening?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think it's pretty much happening now? What happened already?
Yes. The answer is yes. You're going to get a ding next year.
Oh, there we go.
Or actually the end of this year. Yeah, you'll definitely get a ding from that one. We are in the middle of a huge worldwide UFO flap. No question about it. Landings in Somalia, Iran, sightings virtually everywhere. You bet we're in the middle of a big flap, though. You'll get a ding on that one. I can virtually promise. International line, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello? Yes, hello.
Is it better now?
It is. Turn your radio off, please.
Okay, turn off. This is Miller calling from Boise, Idaho. And I got me through to you once before 10 years ago.
Okay, well, listen, you're on my international line.
I know, I called the wrong number. Am I going to get in trouble?
No, you're kidding. You're not going to get in trouble. No, you're not going to get in trouble, but you're also, unfortunately, going to have to call the right number. I'm sorry, but that is for people outside the country, and I'm not exactly sure how you even got in on that line, to be honest. East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hello, Mark. How you doing tonight?
I'm well, sir.
Oh, I want to tell you something that happened here about a little over a year ago. My mother and I were driving home. It's in the summertime, and we were heading east in the moon. You know, you can see the moon as it's coming up. And the sun was behind us. Excuse me. My mother said, "Oh, what is that?" And I said, "Oh, mother, it's the moon." And she said, "Oh." She said, "That reminds me of something that I saw when I was a little girl." And another Thomas 81. And I said, "What was that?" And she said, "I was outside playing, and at the time they lived in Fort Oklahoma. And she said, I saw this light, and it's coming across the field. And I asked my mom and dad, I said, what is that?" And she said, they said, "Honey, I don't know." And we're driving along, and she said under her breath, "You know, that thing was trying to shake." And I said, "Mother, how come you have never said anything about that before?" And she says, "Well, I don't know. I've never thought of it until I saw that thing in the sky." And I thought, that's so weird, because our debit had to be in 1929 or 1930.
Yes, very interesting, because, of course, I've had Triangle, a very, very close encounter with the Triangle. We've had the zillion Triangle reports from all over the world. But these have all been more or less modern. And that would have been at a time when there could not possibly have been a secret U.S. or any other country program flying a Triangle that did not use conventional propulsion in fluid ways that aircraft can't fly. So, yes, that would have been well before it was remotely possible. It could have been something else that we always try to put it off on. Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, hi, yeah, a little bit of speculation on the bee situation.
Yes, sir.
Since the introduction of genetically modified crops, is it possible that
Yes.
the genetically modified pollen and it doesn't agree with the bees?
Yes, of course. All of these things are possibilities, yes.
Well, that's about it.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, all speculation in this area is welcome. That's all it is. And that's all mine was, is speculation. I thought about the chemtrails, thought about all the terrible things that were in the chemtrails, the Idaho Observer reported on them. And then I thought about the bees. And there's a million other things. Sure, genetically modified crops could be. stuff from the sky, various chemicals that we, put on crops trying to get better and more prolific crops. Sure, any of it could be the cause. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hey, Art, I might have another piece to your puzzle for these.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is Radio Connect. I'm actually a female. I've talked to you for a long time.
Oh, sorry about that.
Remember back in 2003 when that shuttle broke up coming over California?
Of course, yeah. Well, actually, I think the major breakup was Texas, but yes, okay.
Okay, but it broke up coming over California and it dumped in Texas.
Right.
That time in 2003, I called you. I was down in Pensacola, Florida. And when that shuttle went and broke up, like the next day, there was like this pollen looking stuff all over the garbage cans, all the way down to Pensacola. And it was all over the chairs and everything. And my neighbors were saying it looked like pollen. And I'm saying, no, we're just coming out of winter. Nothing's bloomed. And what was weird about this stuff was where it had rain that night. We got to have dust to have rain. And every little raindrop had its own little speck of this yellow powder stuff.
There's been a lot of that
And it
going on.
rained that night, and this stuff is like it hated water.
I got it. Listen, I'm sorry. I'm done breaking on, but it's the end of the hour. But I'm with you all the way. We're all speculating, but it's something. Well, I'll tell you, it's been a long time. Dr. Evelyn Paglini. She got on the air many years ago because I said I'm looking for a real broom-riding, cauldron-stirring witch. The real McCoy. And I sort of went on a search, and Evelyn is who I found. She was a very, very close friend of Evelyn's. That said, there is nobody out. Well, let me read you what Shelley from Hallandale, Florida said, and Shelley's dead on. Shelley made a couple of nice comments to me, and then said, listen, Art, I wanted to comment on Saturday's guest, Evelyn Paglini, was right on target when she was your guest in early 2005. This may refresh some of your memories. She warned everyone that according to the client rating she was giving, something was going to happen with weather that would profoundly impact many people. She said, thousands of people having to leave a part of the country. She was picking up Hurricane Katrina and all of the damage it did to New Orleans and the surrounding areas. Thousands had moved away. She's one of the most accurate psychics you've had on your program. Well, she doesn't bill herself technically as a psychic, but Shelley, you're exactly right. She hit that one as hard as you can hit. Anything right on the head. Evelyn Paglini, coming right up, parapsychologist, one of the leading authorities on the occult and the supernatural in the United States. She was born into a centuries-old family of practitioners of the occult. And at the age of 4, her grandfather began teaching her natural magic. She is a psychic. Well, there you go. Well, actually not psychic, a psychic metaphysical teacher, lecturer, consultant, doctor of divinity, and spiritual warrior. He's also founder of the International Psychic Center, a research investigation organization. So she really is psychic. Been called an expert by law enforcement agencies. She's set precedents in the Texas court systems from abuse cases with ritual overtones, worked with law enforcement on missing persons, and murder cases involving the occult and the supernatural. Coming up in a moment, Dr. Evelyn Paglini. In my opinion, when you hit something that big, and that is big, that's really big. I mean, when you talk about what it's going to be, and the weather's going to be so bad, thousands and thousands of people are going to have to move. You hit something that big on the head, you deserve being listened to. And so tonight, I suggest you listen very carefully. Evelyn Paglini, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much, Erdo, for the opportunity.
Now, that was a big one. I mean, you know, when Katrina hit, and you probably sat there like all the rest of us watching the coverage, you probably went, oh my God. Or did you just,
I knew
what did you do?
I knew it was going to be bad, Art, but I didn't know what to comprehend the horrendous things that we saw happen to those people.
Well, when you're talking about thousands of people being, having to move out of an area, I mean, that's just hardly ever happened.
Yes, and unfortunately, I feel that in the coming years, it's going to happen again.
Okay, well, here we've got, of course, environmental disaster unfolding in front of our very faces. I think in a report that's coming out next week, the scientist has quoted as saying something like, not that I think the projections aren't that good. I mean, the projections of doom are good, but he goes on to say, but because we just can't be that stupid, we need to let it happen. Can we?
I don't think we want to let it happen, but it's going to happen. I think we're not prepared. We still have not reinforced our infrastructure, and it is going to happen again. We're going to have an increase in hurricanes, not only this year, but in the coming years. We have a countdown effect coming between now and 2012, and so there's going to be a lot of catastrophes and major devastations that are going to hit this United States as well as around the world.
Now, what is it? I mean, it's the end of my calendar, we all know. And it's also coinciding with what scientists are saying is going to be this incredible sun cycle that may be bigger than anything we've ever seen. But is that what it is? I mean, is it the end of my calendar, or why 2012 between now and 2012?
I think I don't know it all, Art. I really don't. I think you would have experts that could talk about it a lot more proficiently than I can. I only have these feelings and these images that I get. And I feel that because of what is going on, there's like a purification or a cleansing of Earth. It's like a preparation for a shifting or a raising of consciousness, or a new energy level that will be entering into in that 2012 time. But before that, there is this purging that needs to take place. And it's going to be happening not only with natural catastrophes, but also with war, as well as those people who are going to continually try to devastate the economy by any ways, means in which it can. And there's a lot that's going to be done in a very evil manner. Yeah, I only can use that word because in one of my predictions, I feel that there is a rising of evil like we have not seen in a long time. In fact, maybe in the Middle Ages, we would talk about this kind of evil that is rising, that is going to be around the world.
When I interviewed Father Norman Martin in a long series of interviews, Evelyn, he said that in his area of responsibility in the New York City area, evil, and this was years ago, was up 800% in the year previous, and just gone up 800%, and he felt it would continue to rise. And what you're saying is kind of on line with that. You're saying,
yeah, now it's so prevalent, and it's coming from all facets and facets of life. You're seeing now parents that are killing children killing children. You're seeing catastrophes where people walk in and go into a Mormon school and just annihilate youngsters, innocent. This is going to escalate to beyond our wildest dreams. We are not going to be able to get our head around the kind of carnage that people are going to be doing to others. And that's got nothing to do with it planned by those individuals that are fanatics. That kind of carnage and that kind of terrorism we all know about. We've seen it in the Middle East.
right, Ellen, can I ask you this? Is it this increase in evil that we're talking about? Is it just something that's, I don't know, naturally occurring in my man, or is there a real
There's a real fight against light and darkness going on.
Is there Lucifer? Is there really an entity that is promoting evil on Earth?
Yes. Yes, there is, always has been, but because of the shifting in consciousness, because of our level of awareness being expanding, and our capabilities, our psych abilities being enhanced, now the dark forces are in for the fight. And the fight is not only for the earth and for our soul. And so, yeah, there will be an increase in evil and carnage around the world.
Right. Since you hit so much on the head with that hurricane, let's kind of take it one category at a time now. The weather, it's totally bananas. It's completely bananas all over the world. In the near term, in the next year or two, if you would look ahead for us, and is there any way you can tell what's going on?
Well, as far as the weather is concerned, the one thing I'm worried about, and I've been getting this a lot, and it's not just here in the state of California, even though I'm here. I am picking up devastating fires, and I'm talking about the tens of thousands of acres on fire. Not only here in the state of California, but like I said, in other states. But what's bothering me, in fact, I even asked your audience and those people, especially in the state of California, that maybe they can help out, because I am picking up that a lot of this is going to be done by arson. And I keep getting, I'm not seeing them clearly, but I keep getting 3 or 4 men, and I only see them kneeling down. And so I can't tell a lot about it, but they have got plans. And they're not just in the state of California. They're in other states, and they are going to start major fires.
Do you feel any motive? In other words, why? I was
It's just like, it's deliberate. It's deliberate.
Oh no, I got that. I mean, is it just to get the attention, Evelyn? Is it some sick?
This is not a signal. This is a planned operation, and I don't understand that it's not coming in clear enough. I'm getting snapshots, I'm getting images, and it's just not giving me enough, but I got enough to put it out there now. And that's why I'm asking the help of your audience, especially those in the state of California. But besides that, I'm also getting an awful lot of light, and we're going to be dealing with an awful lot of water, an awful lot of landslides. And this, again, is not only in the state of California, but across the nation. And I'm picking up that there's going to be anywhere between a 5.8 and a 6.2 earthquake in Northern California by the end of the summer, early fall. All right, and I can't say everything that you have been saying in the day after tomorrow in your book, The Coming Global Superstorm. That's what's going on.
Well, yeah, see, well, as the weather changes now, obviously, in areas where there should be moisture, there is not. So that means you're going to get all kinds of perfect conditions for fire. And if you've got somebody or somebody's out there, as you just talked about, willing to set them, you're going to get a lot of fire. So you see a year far ahead.
I see the next 18 months, not just the next year, and the next 18 months, I see nothing but fires, and I don't like it. I'm really worried, because like I said, there's a deliberateness to some of them. Now, I'll tell you what we talked about also a year ago, which I've got so many letters and so many emails from people that heeded when I talked about the economy and what was going to be happening to housing, and especially those who had adjustable rate mortgages.
That's right.
I spent a lot of time on that, Art.
I remember.
And now those people who heeded my warning, thank God they got out. They got into a nice low fixed rate mortgage for 30 years. They pulled out a little bit more money and they paid off their debt. But right now, there is going to be over 1 million homes that will be lost, that will go into foreclosure this year. The slump in housing is only just starting. There's going to be a major domino effect.
So it's going to get worse.
It's going to be much worse, and people are going to see their mortgages adjusting anywhere between $500 and $700 more a month, and that is going to cause them to go into foreclosure. And with that, I mentioned, remember the word I said recession last year?
Yes, I do.
Well, this is where Maggie, okay, and Greenspan mentioned the recession.
Yes.
And by the end of this year, we will be really talking about it because the slowing of this economy is going to happen and people are going to be being laid off, they're going to be losing their jobs by the thousands. And by the time we get into the third quarter, recession will be in full swing. And the dollar is going to continue to weaken and inflation is going to continue to rise by year's end.
Well, of course, the people that will be most immediately affected will be those that are way over their heads anyway. A lot of them in California, where, of course, things were so overpriced in the first place, and they're hanging in there by a thread. They have $500-700 or more to a mortgage. That's just going to put a lot of people right out of their homes.
That is correct, and I am saying over 1 million homes. People are going to be losing their homes and they're going to be losing their jobs, and this economy is going to be slowing down. The only thing they're going to be interested in is not the luxuries of the necessities of life. So as far as investment is concerned, let me tell you, if I were you, I would still stick with palladium. Gold is still going to be and has continued to be a hedge against inflation. Silver is still one of the best bets because I feel it will hit at least $25 to $30, so it's going to double. So I would definitely get into silver. I would stay also into copper, into nickel, and believe it or not, even into sugar. Now, there's a lot of people that know that there's been a lot of corn being planted. I mean, that's since 1944, and there's been so much corn being planted. So even though the price of corn has gone down, it's a long-term investment. Corn is going to be extremely still a very good investment.
Back to basic evil for a second. I guess it's not a man. There's been this fight between good and evil, between God and Lucifer. So we've entered an era, a period of time where the dark side, if you use a Star Wars metaphor, is beginning to get the edge, or what?
It's beginning to realize that because mankind's soul, his level of awareness and consciousness is being raised, his viabilities and tuition is being heightened, that there is now a fight for the soul and for goodness. You see, as your consciousness is raised, you get closer to the divine spark within you, which is the divine spark of God. The dark forces do not want that. And so they are going to seduce in any way, means, and form they can in order to control you, in order to control and win the soul.
Ron, we're talking about the perfectly possessed. Now, those are people who've already made their pact with the dark side, and I guess they're enjoying whatever benefits in the short life they're getting from that. But you're talking about the fact that more people around the world are getting a higher level of consciousness, which makes them, I guess, more subject to all kinds of things, including the dark side.
That's correct. They're going to be more tempted only because their knowledge is being advanced, their awareness, their powers are being increased. And as that happens, the dark forces come to seduce. That's why all of this magic, we teach you to remain in balance, because they know that as you gain knowledge, you're going to be tested. But the average person out there, the layman out there, who's just now having heightened awareness and experiences of different abilities of the mind, does not know that they're going to be tested by evil beings and forces. And so they must be made aware. He has to be vigilant.
How do you know? How does the average person know when they're beginning to be influenced by these darker forces? How do they know?
Because their mind and starts to change, their objectivity focuses more on the materialistic and the control and the power over others, the manipulation of people. So their desires and their focuses and the things that they want change.
Right, but that might be something that the average person, Evelyn, wouldn't notice, like the frog in the slowly heating water. They're changing, and they'll be the last ones to notice they're changing because it's them.
Yeah, and others around them will catch on much quicker than they will. It has to be pointed out. But those persons that are in the pursuit of magic and knowledge are well aware. And
So would you advise somebody,
to change, they have to realize that they are now being in touch with evil entities and forces.
so if friends start telling you you're changing, listen.
Yeah.
Okay, Evelyn, this is scary stuff. It really is scary stuff. And I think I agree with you that the populace is more open to this than they ever have been before. I mean, people have been turning away more and more from religion in these modern days. But yet, as you point out, they're turning toward more awareness of their consciousness, and that's exposing them to evil possibilities. When we get back, Evelyn, I guess think for a moment how you would advise people to be on the lookout for this happening to them. Because, as I say, I don't think it's in the average person to recognize them at all. And we've all got to be aware. From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I'm Art Bell. My guest is Evelyn Paglini, and we're talking about good and the year of fire by the hand of man. Evelyn Paglini's called. She called the hurricane, she called the flood when we had them, and now she's saying, here it comes, the year of fire, and it'll be on our hand. We'll be right back. All right, Evelyn, I have a question for you, and that is, if this is going on, if evil is on that much of an increase all around the nation, would you advise the person actually get into magic as almost prophylactic against what is otherwise all around us? Would that help?
Very definitely, yes, only because you cannot practice magic without touching the divine power within you and the divine power of God.
And how do you respond to
fortifying yourself against evil.
Okay, but how do you respond to those people who inevitably say, look, magic, perhaps it's real, but it's opening doors that you don't want opened, and who knows what's going to walk through? How do you protect yourself against something bad?
Well, because you're going to be trained in how to do that, how to put up a shield of protection, how to fortify yourself, how to call in angels, how to call in those forces and vibrations that can assist you and to protect you. But even though you're not into magic, there's people that have their, let's say, their intuition, okay, their abilities being, let's say, increased. Those people, they can tell by the process of their mind that they start to tend to lean toward more lustful things than they ever have before, or coveting things they never did before, or wanting to control people and manipulate people. Then they realize that what they're doing is being seduced by evil entities and forces.
As I said earlier, though, that's something probably the individual wouldn't recognize. They would just sort of go along the life, and they're changing. So it would have to be somebody near or close to them that would call their attention to the fact that they're changing.
Yes, the layman would have to have somebody close to them that they don't know or they are not paying attention to the process of the change of their mind and where their concentration is.
So, what do you advise? Watch your friends, watch your loved ones. If you see these changes taking place, what do you do?
I would certainly sit down with them, try to find out where their mind has been, where things have been going with them, what possibly has been contributing to their desire to move in that direction. Is it something that can be handled within their career or in their relationships? Or is it something that they have all of a sudden have an interest in and are starting to pursue and may at that with a group, an organization, a society, or tradition that is leading them down the left-hand path.
Have you ever noticed, Evelyn, that some of these horrible things that are done, more and more of these shootings, more robberies? I read a story tonight about robbery, and people were killed in the robbery. Well, it used to be we had robberies and people weren't killed. Sometimes they were, but now they nearly almost always are. And have you ever noticed, Evelyn, that after a terrible serial murderer is caught, they'll go around and interview the neighbors. Oh, he was such a nice, quiet guy. Inevitably, that's what you get.
Yeah, because those people are not going to be putting out an aura of, let's say, intimidation or someone that is contemplating robbery and murder. Certainly, they are not going to be putting out that kind of an energy or an aura, so they're going to be acting like the perfect neighbor, the perfect colleague. But what is festering inside is not only evil intention, but the growing force of an energy or an entity that is manipulating and controlling that body.
Well, I know this is a reach, but Evelyn, also a lot of people are committing crimes often say they heard voices telling them to do it. Now, it's very difficult to discern between some sort of mental illness, training, whatever, and what actually might be evil at work. I'm wondering how we differentiate. How do we know?
We can't, unless you have a person that is going to go under psychotherapy. You're not going to be able to find out. There's many people that do have a mental illness, but there are many others that are indeed hearing the whispers of beings and entities, and they are the ones who are influencing them to commit these acts. They are taken over, and maybe it is because of what they have done in the past, maybe what they have opened the doors to, possibly by drugs or alcohol. I don't know what all of the doorways or the portals that allow these energies and these evil forces in, but once again, they really do start to manipulate the bodily functions, the vocal cords, everything of that person.
I know that you know both sides of magic. You practice. You openly admitted on this program you practice magic on the light side or the light side, and you've been on the dark side as a spiritual warrior as well, right?
That is correct. I have to. That's what I was trained for. I fight fire with fire.
What's it like? I mean, it's got to be frightening to step over that line and in a war, I guess. It's a war and people get hurt. But it must be, even for you, it must be kind of frightening to step into that darker arena.
It is always frightening. It is very, very draining. And you must fortify yourself well in advance before you take on something like that. Most of the time, I am dealing with individuals who are not really formidable practitioners, and so therefore my energy level is capable of handling it. But when I am up against another practitioner, and that practitioner is also utilizing the kind of ceremonial or ritualistic magic that I am into, then yes, there are times that I really do have to worry, because naturally I'm a human being and my energies can be drained, and I never know if I'm going to, meet a person that is going to test me.
Well, inevitably, when you do these programs, later in the program, open lines, as we always do, we'll get calls from people who will say, look, I'm under attack. I know I'm under attack. Well, maybe sometimes they aren't. Maybe sometimes they're not. Maybe sometimes they're just putting it together and they're kind of spinning bad luck and they think they're under attack. But other people really are under attack. And how much of a chance does an individual who doesn't know a thing about magic have, except that they're being hurt, they're under some kind of attack, on somebody who knows what they're doing?
They have a very good, strong faith. Okay, and I don't care what the tradition is. They can't call upon Jesus Christ. They can't call on the God that they believe in order to gain some assistance, maybe some relief. But if they are up against someone who is really under psychic attack or a practitioner who has placed a cursor and so on, then they need another person who knows what to do in order to break that spell, in order to destroy that curse. Otherwise, they are in for it.
A spell and a curse, they're synonyms, same thing?
Well, yeah, it can be, depending on who the person is that's performing it. They can be exchanged, yeah.
Can a
But a curse normally can be generational, or a spell normally will only last a particular length of time. Yeah.
So you can have a curse put on you that would literally last your entire lifetime and maybe even into the next generation?
Generational, yeah. 200, 300, 400 years can last, not just a couple of them. Yeah. But again, that has to be a very powerful practitioner. Or when someone is at the moment of death, if they place a curse with all of that energy and all of that focus and that rest, that curse is very difficult to break and can last for generations.
So there is an additional power associated with that moment of
Oh, yeah. Oh, very definitely. It comes from the bowels, the depth of the. That is one dangerous person. They don't want to face a person that with their last breath, that
how much of this is there going on? Well, I know there's a lot of catching stuff going on, but the learned stuff that you're talking about right now, how prevalent is it really in this world?
The last 10 or 15 years are the presentation being tremendously. Maybe because people are out there searching. A lot of people wanting to find who they are, what they are, why they're here. And because they're having experiences that they don't understand, like premonition, precognition, and all the other possibilities that are out there. And they don't know where to go. And so I think that's what's happening.
Okay, there's another one. Premonition, precognition. Same thing, or are they different?
No, they're very different. In fact, the other week I believe somebody was talking about premonition. And, you know, everybody has the ability to have premonitions. I mean, it's not something that, belongs to only the viewers and the talented. Premonitions are like intuitions, only they're more detailed, not as detailed as you'd like them to be. But they give you enough information where very definitely it can help you. There are some people that I've heard who have come to like a stoplight, and the left turn is green, and it's something tells them have to go. And they don't know the person in front or a car goes, stop and put them in that accident. Or not to take that plane or that train. Or not to buy that property. Those are all premonitions. Or something that was pending due. Or something that's going to happen. They don't get all of it. They just snapshots of it, so they have to analyze it. But there definitely is what we call premonition. Okay, the ability to know that something is going to happen. And you make a list of the original, but not all of the detail. But now precognition is what you had, and that's what you were talking about. That's totally different. That's not hearing a little voice. That's not hearing a voice. That's not having a life. What the hell is this?
No, this is what they hit on the head with a hammer.
Absolutely. That is no way. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, the entire event. That's right. That's precognition. Very different. There is no,
Premonition is a sort of more subtle forward. Precognition is and what is natural to the Joe that I have no idea what this number is never happened since. And well, actually, I'm pretty old. You can't do that. I'm not going to try to work myself to do something like
When you put a journal like that, what we call so that if your mind is perfect, give you more of a kind of break. So we're going to give you more. And it's my website, there is in the instructional material, there is and in there, is a course that will improve your ability to be able to increase as well as to be able to
what's that all about?
well, when you're doing is and what you are doing is you're going to the outer brain, and then your creativity and your imagination. And once you are happy with it, you have the ability to put your ideas into an animate or an inanimate object. And then you're able to understand it from the inside out, whether it be an animal or whether it be a people or wood. Now, there is another part of it, and that is called psychometry. There are people out there that can be interviewed and wrote a book called Voices of the Soul. And this was the ability to be able to pick up an object and to be able to tune into that object and have that object give you expression or imagery. And either the person who owns the object, the maker of the object, or whatever is in the land or the circumference of where the object was found. Now, as a means
That means that an object in some way stores information.
yes, but it's a thought. That's why you pick up the right was not paid. We heard the stream of the images. And that is why there are so many media stories that I have in missing person and murder cases. Because they will pick up the object of the conversation and they will be able to perceive images and meaning of what the people to that system at that time.
I don't know if I would want that ability. I'm sure that's a two-edged sword, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, that's why I got away from getting involved with missing person and murder cases, but I have too many with the children. In fact,
you're not the first psychic to say that to me. Doing missing children, most of all, seems that's what I've been told by many.
When I did a case in Chicago, it was when I walked into a bedroom and I opened up a small box and there was the baby teeth of this boy in it. And I picked up the teeth and I held it in my hands, and that's when I started to see the images. This young boy who they thought had run away was indeed kidnapped and was killed. And from the images I saw, I drew one of the individuals who led to the other people who were the perpetrators of the crime and also led to the body of what was buried. But it was psychometry that I used. And so, yeah, when I dealt with the Chicago Police Force for quite some time on missing persons, and especially in the shows that were limited. That's what I used with my commentary, but after a couple of years, I couldn't do it anymore.
Evelyn, it seems like crimes against our children, pedophilia is on the rise. I'm saying
That's what Evo got.
I suppose. That's what I'm saying. That to me, that seems surely evil. Any attack against our children is just so damn evil.
And that's what I'm getting more of it on the rise. I'm getting more children that are going to be harmed by not only other children, but by adults. And it's bothering me.
I understand that.
Because there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to stop that. I don't know what to do about it. That's what I'm warning.
As they start down this road of being interested in children, there are many mental health professionals that say there is no way to stop them. They will continue to do it again and again and again and again. And if you keep them in jail for 10 years and nothing out, or 20 years and nothing out, they will do it again.
Yes, they will.
There's got to be something that our sane society can do to address this, because the criminal justice system just simply can't handle it. It can't handle the reality of somebody who will continue to do their crime again and again and again, and that crime is against our children. It's got to be a way to handle it.
Well, I hope you're going to have some experts on this guest that will give us some insight.
All right, my guest is a witch. She practices magic. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about, we're going to talk about remote influencing, something remote viewers will not or refuse for the most part proper. That's influencing the mind of another from the high levels. I'm like that. I guess it's Evelyn Pagini. If you want to dismiss what you're hearing this morning, that's so much fun. You go ahead. It's very easy to dismiss that which you don't understand. But if you want to look back and record what Evelyn Pagini has said in past past on this program, I don't think you could so easily dismiss anything at all. We'll be right back. I've had occasion to interview most, I think, not all of the persons who are involved in the CIA interviewing program. I asked them all about remote influencing. That actually is getting in the mind of somebody else, for example, causing them to have a thought, or causing them to actually do something. Most of them think it's not possible, and talk about it in fresh tones, if at all. Remote influencing, yes, you know?
Yes, very much so. And I have great respect for those people who are proficient in remote viewing and all the protocols that they go through in order for them to capture that information. But remote influencing has been going on since the beginning of time. That person who has the capacity to focus their mind and art you have done on your show with your audience. Remote healing and remote influencing. The remote healing was done with Danny and Brinkley, with Richard Hoagland, and with Louis Streeter's wife. And so it's time to talk to a remote viewer and want to say, I don't know. You can, with your audience and with conscience, tell them about your experiments. And as far as remote influencing, don't you think that using the forces of nature and putting brain where crop was is not influencing? And so how can you say that there is no such thing as remote influencing? You can, with the power of the millions of lives that you were directing, do that. Now take it into magic art. One person influencing the mind of another's actions, the mind of another's thinking, the process of what they do, or controlling their body up to vocal cords.
You know, in all of that possibility, then if you combine that with a move toward evil, you're in real trouble.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Because that process is what's going on. More and more people are using the power of their mind without mind like a laser beam for a person to react the way you are conditioning them to by your influence.
Now, is there any way an individual can understand that they are being influenced by others, or will you always believe it's my idea, it's my emotion, it's my drive, that's what I want to do?
If the practitioner is good enough, you'll never know. You're not supposed to pass the idea. You're supposed to.
This is a dangerous world, right?
Yes, it is becoming more dangerous as our ability is increasing. Because there will be those out there who will search people with this kind of talent out and draw them into their traditions and society. And those have hidden agendas.
That brings us to something else I want to ask you about, and I'm more involved in the world right now. We're facing the possibility of an expanding war. Actually, we're wrong. I have no idea what the vibrations of it. On a larger level, at a world level, where are we headed?
Like I said, this is the cleansing and the purging of Earth. It will be by any means possible war, fire, volcanic eruption, earthquake, tidal waves, flooding, you name it, we're going to have it in the next years to come. That's where we're headed. And so people have to prepare. They have to get the edge on the future. They have to be able to control their own destiny. Because in trying to control their own, they can't control the world.
I'm going to leave it up a little bit for a second. We'll come back to all this, but I've got an email ahead of you from Mr. Bill of Tuckerton, New Jersey. I want to read this immediate reaction, right? Dear Art, while I'm not a practitioner of the craft, I'm one of those members of the post office and post operative called media fascinating. Yes. On your website, saw that she's scheduled to appear with you this weekend. When I discuss like radio branch folks, and they talk about dowsing. They suggest that we're tapping into our own or universe of consciousness based on our explanation. Dowsing sounds inherently safe. Right. Mechanics using a pointing device, pencil, some type of charter map sounds a lot like using a Ouija board. And I recognize the Ouija boards usually require people to operate. Dowsing is done by one individual, but similarities exist. I do what I think Ouija boards very dangerous. I'm not sure about dowsing. Since I know you were interested in the subject of Ouija board, I was hoping to ask you the following questions. 1. What are the main differences between dowsing and using a Ouija board? 2. Could a supernatural entity corrupt or otherwise subvert the dowsing process to cause problems? And 3. Are there other dangers inherent in dowsing? And lastly, in your opinion, is dowsing something to stay away from?
Well, first of all, from dowsing, so it's not something to stay away from. I would have to say that it's extremely rare, if at all, for any dark forces or entities to be possessed of it or inherent in it. And as far as the pendulum, that is also something that is a means to open up to the portal of the subconscious mind. Also, there are those people who are mediums that are able to, let's say, tune into or acquire the information from the Akashic records by doing so. But as far as the Ouija board is concerned, I don't think most people, I would suggest you stay away from it because that is a portal to open up the door to a low entity, spirit, or being. And you may get more than get fired for that. Something I would stay away from. As far as the question, there is another way in the form of communication or going into an altered state of consciousness and receiving information, and that is an extremely excellent way of communication or divination.
Hey, Michelle.
Yes.
Good morning.
It's usually on like a plastic casters or there's a pencil that is placed in the middle. They can press upon the casters in automatic writing when the automatic drawing is done. And it's usually being done by the communication of the spirits or true spirits.
I'm going to tell you a story, Ellen, very quickly about Winona that I don't think you ever heard, and I'm pretty darn sure the audience never heard. For many years 15, 16 years ago when we decided we were going to move to the front. We came out looking for property, Evelyn, and I'm a ham radio operator, so I like high up places. And we took a look at this property just off Highway 160, and boy, it was incredible. It overlooked all the roads, and I said, this has got to be it. This has got to be it. It's a, look at this view. And so we did a negotiation for that property. And in the process of that negotiation, we wondered about water. And Laura got out a dowsing. She made a dowsing rod, and she found a place. This was a very rocky area, way high up, it was a rocky area. And she made this X way down the lower left-hand area of this property, and she said, there's where the water is. And anyway, it turned out it was in Clark County, and all kinds of regulations and stuff, and we ended up not getting the property. Well, years went by, and the property just didn't develop for the same reasons that I didn't get. But then something changed. It turned out that it could develop. Well, of course, being on the highway, we would pass it every day, the main road in Las Vegas and such. And we watched them drill for water, and they were developing these properties, single piece property. Twice they did, and yes, they did get it. And finally, when they did get it, my God, everyone, it was exactly, I remember my X down, and it was exactly where she had put the X. That's where they built, and finally, had hit water.
Isn't that fantastic? And it shows that doesn't work.
It does work. How does it work?
Oh, I think what you're doing is, again, you're tapping into the divine spark within you and the divine consciousness. And you're tuning into nature and the elements, and it's talking to you. That's why when they go into meditation, they talk about going into the oneness of nature, becoming one with all that you are in tune. And so therefore you're picking up the vibrations of the forces that are emitted from the ground, telling you here is the element of water.
I'll never forget it. It's amazing when it does work. And so for people who think all this stuff is silliness and doesn't work, you're just wrong. It absolutely does work. And the fact that works and other things work, I guess we need to listen to this lady because she knows what she's talking about. So anyway, we think the world of bars is headed sliding into an evil period between now and 2012, coming back to Holocaust.
Yes, I feel that there is a fight between good and evil, and that's why I'd like to level the playing field by getting more and more people in touch with nature, the elements, in tune with what they are feeling, as far as their intuition, as far as premonitions that they are feeling and getting. And so once they start listening to the journal, as I said, it gives permission for the mind to get them more. They're going to need it with what's coming down the pipe. This way they know when to move. They know when to make a change. It will save their life.
And maybe the lives of many others. So to begin to get into this, I mean, even if somebody is, and there are many, many very religious people in my audience, Evelyn, and they hesitate, on this type of thing. You mention the word magic, natural magic, whatever you want to call it to make it sound better. If you use the word magic in it, the religious folks are going to be saying, oh no, I'm away from that. And so how do you address it?
The only thing I can say is it is nature, it is the element, and that which has been given to us by God for us to use as tools to assist us in growing and developing. And so therefore they must pursue it. They're the ones that are going to see the result. They're not going to be joining a group or a society or a covenant where they're going to be subjugated, where they're going to have to be putting up with a high priest or a high priestess. These are solitary practitioners who are going to learn to get the edge on their future that is going to give them a change for the better in their life, to change their family and their friends for the better. And so they have control of it.
So So you could say to the Christians out there that they're not going to go sliding in toward the devil and quite the opposite from their thinking, right?
Absolutely the opposite. And they are in control every step of the way. Can I give out a couple of my phone numbers?
Of course you can.
For those people who don't have a computer and if they would like to have a free catalog, if they can call 818-985-9935 or 818-407-1951, and they can even start calling tomorrow and what they have for people there. I will be more than happy to send them out a free catalog or try to some of their questions if they have them.
Yeah, so these are numbers people can call basically during the day. Should call them right now. Is that
You know, not this evening, but tomorrow and all through the week, you can certainly call. And for those people who don't have a computer, if you would like to have one of our free catalogs, which we have not only my classes, but a lot of the rituals I'd like to get involved with, especially one tonight. And that would be Mystical Blend at P.O. Box 57932 in Sherman Oaks, California, 91413. And the reason why I wanted to talk about some of the rituals that they can use is because we were talking about remote influencing, and I'd like people to learn how to influence in their lives. Some of the rituals that they went to mysticalblend.com or in my catalog, like health and well-being, and let's say legal injustice, or let's say legal separation and breakup, but let's take health and well-being. For those people who have realities of disorders and dysfunction, there is a ritual that they can do using remote influencing, using an effigy, an image candle representative of themselves, where they can accelerate the healing process, or they can help destroy that malfunction or that disorder that is causing the illness. And so that is only one specific meditation visualization ritual where influencing, can be done on a remote basis for another as well as for yourself. And there are out there in this audience of yours, some of my clients, especially one that I really like to give kudos to. There's a package up there called Legal Injustice out of Kansas. In the coming years, there's going to be an awful lot of times that are going to have to be faced by people having court cases, child custody battles, and lawsuits. And there's one person out there that I really wanted to give kudos to because she took on the system and used the legal injustice ritual. And I want you to know that this is a mother that fought for a child and beat the legal system. It took her months, but one by one, she got these charges broken down and dismissed. And
she did this using rituals.
Yes. Because you see, Art, if you go to my website and you click on ritual packages and look at legal injustice, you're going to see what's in that package. And anybody out there can get this in any metaphysical store. All right, so if you just go up there and find out what all you need, go to any metaphysical store and get it. But understand the premise behind it, if I may, with your permission. Those that are of the green image candles represent you in your gender and your attorney in that person's gender. And those that are in the black image candles naturally are going to represent the opposition, that person that is bringing the complaint against you. The pink image candle is going to be in the gender of the judge. And so therefore, naturally, actually you would have to know the names and the genders of these individuals. In that package or out there, you're going to be purchasing 2 specific essential oils that have a vibration and a force and energy that is going to influence what you want to have as a result. The Justice oil is what you're going to be using on the green image candles as well as on the judge, because the influence that you want is one that is going to be compatible, okay, between the judge and the attorney that is your representative. The confusion oil is what you're going to be placing on the black image candles in the gender of the opposition and their lead attorney. Because what you want is to have confusion when the presentation is made to the judge by the opposition. And so therefore all of the statements, believe me, mistakes have been made. Okay, the presentation was done incorrectly. The I's and the T's were not crossed and dotted. And so therefore the judge, in response to the presentation of the opposition, was not favorable. That wasn't discussed. And yet when the presentation was made by you to be successful by your attorney, that was compatible. And so what you're doing is directing and influencing not only the emotion, the receptivity and perception of the judge, but also you are increasing the presentation of your successful legal attorney and having the mistakes made and the judge not being acceptable to anything that is said and done and presented by the opposition.
All right, so we might start off by saying a little oil for the justice system.
Yeah, but be careful, make sure that you have justice on your side, because it'll backfire.
All right, I like that. We'll be right back. My guess is we don't change too many minds. There's a lot of people in the audience who know magic works. And then there's another group out there who thinks it's just so much funk and they probably aren't going to change their mind. I suppose we'll make a difference of 2 or 3, perhaps. You know, I like the idea of a little bit. I guess there's Dr. Evelyn McLean and her website. That would be the place to go if you have a computer at www.mysticalblend.com. mysticalblend.com. Now, there are potions and there are rituals and there are instructions and it's all up there. Otherwise, we'll get those numbers out to you again. So get a paper and a pencil and this woman knows what she's talking about. We'll be right back. It's such a basic question. It never occurred to me. It's so long since we had anyone on here with us. Dale in Hawaii asked simply, please ask Evelyn, what exactly is magic?
Magic is the uses of energies, vibrations, and forces, and the manipulation of those in order to get a result.
So in other words, it's, that's, I guess, why they call it practical magic. You know?
Yeah, you're using nature and the elements, which is the energies and forces and vibrations of the universe, and you're manipulating and controlling them. You are sending them to your will, and you're focusing them in order to obtain the desired result.
And there's nothing unnatural or ungodly about using these forces, is there? Well, of course, I guess anything. Yeah, they can be used for, I guess, good or bad. So
Like they have a double-edged sword. Naturally, there is always a positive and a negative. And can I take a moment? I want to congratulate you, Mr. Bell, on the Lifetime Achievement Award you received.
oh, thank you.
And it was 10 years ago that you set a precedent. You had the courage to push the envelope because no one had ever talked about witchcraft, magic, and the supernatural before, let alone for 5 hours. And so I want to thank you, and I think your audience also would like to thank you because you have increased their level of awareness. You've given them an opportunity to gain knowledge they would never, ever know. And so they're a lot smarter out there than the average person.
you know, there are a lot of people. I guess, how many people have come to you, complete novices and interested, and then gone ahead and become involved in the craft?
I would have to say thousands. And I thank you for it. I have a lot of spiritual warriors out there that have leveled the playing field. Not only because they've helped themselves and their family and their friends, but I'm talking about have taken on evil. Yes.
That's quite a job. Apparently, quite a lot of people out there right now taking on.
There's a lot of people out there that use magic and have manipulated people or caused them harm under psychic attack. Okay, where things have gone wrong in their lives and they don't know how to defend themselves. And now people are learning how to put up a defense, how to cleanse an environment, how to block and stop that negativity from coming from them. And that's all by the use of learning magic.
And so anybody can do that. Anybody can protect themselves or at least set up the barriers.
Absolutely. And they don't have to become a proficient practitioner. We're not talking about high magic. We're not talking about ceremonial or ritualistic magic. When you're dealing in that kind of magic, now we're talking in a totally different discipline. But the magic that I'm talking about, the natural magic out there for every average person, that can be handled very easily, and they can see the results, and they can go on in order to help themselves. And that's what I want to do, is get on the edge.
And that's how you're addressing the general audience. Take us for a moment into this higher world, Evelyn, into demonology, into conjuring beings and other supernatural beings.
Well, when you're going to use ceremonial or ritualistic magic, now you're talking about the magnetic practitioner, the magician, the shaman, the voodoo priest. These are those individuals who have years of discipline behind them. They have the traditions of their beliefs and societies behind them. And they conjure, they evoke, they call upon the spirits and the entities and the beings and the forces, as well as the elements, to enhance their power, to gain the knowledge and the wisdom, not only of the ancients, but to gain the knowledge and the wisdom of the future. And so this is something that is done, and some of these rituals take 3, 6, or 9 days in order to perform. It takes upon years for them to gather the herbs and the stones and the jewels, to decide on merchant parchment, the sigils and the seals and the names and words of power in order to protect themselves as they evoke these forces and these beings and these entities. And as far as creating a familiar or a thought form, well, that's something entirely different.
A familiar as in an animal, right?
A familiar can and usually is in the creation of an animal, and that you would set out to do your bidding. Now, it can be to warn an individual, it can be to protect, it can be to spy, to gather information, and it also can be done to harm. But yes, in ceremonial and ritualistic magic, you create a thought form, you infuse it with the life force, you implant it into the image or the shape of an animal or a being, and then you send it out to do your bidding.
Could I, for the sake of an analogy, compare you, for example, to a lawyer? In other words, the average person can, I suppose, deal with things up to a certain level. But at a certain level, if you need the help of an attorney, somebody who really knows what they're doing, somebody who can practice at the higher levels, then would I come to you as I would come to a lawyer or a professional?
You have to come to an expert, yeah. You have to come to a person that knows what they're dealing with. Is it voodoo? Is it Santeria? Is it Satanism? Is it witchcraft? Okay, what are they using? What are their determination? What are they going after? And so you have to have a practitioner to fight a practitioner.
All those things you named, they're all really using the same forces of nature, natural forces of nature, and maybe, I guess, some unnatural in some ways.
Correct. You have a basic foundation no matter what the tradition is.
So when these people come to you, Ellen, how do you determine who you help and who you should not help? And I'm sure there are many that come to you that you should not help, or like a lawyer, do you take on almost every case?
What I normally do, Art, is the person will give me the background and the situation in which they have found themselves in. And I make a determination if they have a bona fide practitioner or just a person who is a spellcaster. And therefore, if it is a person that is a spellcaster, I normally will invite the person to learn how to do a psychic self-defense and a cleansing and protection, because the knowledge once gained, you will know forever. You're not going and hiring somebody else to do it for you or wishing to God they do it and do it right. And so normally I will try to teach another and give the power to them. If they have come across a group or an individual that is a practitioner, well, then now you got to take out the big guns. And so that's an entirely different matter.
That's when you virtually go to war.
Correct.
Have you always won these wars, Evelyn, or have there been instances in your life, which has been a long and good one, when you have not won?
I won't say that I have not won. I think I would have to say that the time was not enough. I had one where this one case, the only thing I was able to do was to get a length of time in order for things that were happening within that home to cease and exist. But other than that, no, I have not been beaten, thank God.
Okay. Is communication with the dead possible?
You know, yes it is, and it's called necromancy. You can, and there are many very, very astute practitioners out there. And I'm talking those that are into ritualistic and ceremonial magic, or they really are doing necromancy. When they're doing necromancy that way, they are going to go after the objects of the dead. They will even go after the corpses of the dead if they can get it, or the skin, or the hair, or the fingernail parings of the dead. They will also, if they can, raise the coffin of the deceased individual and take the nails out of the coffin, because those are highly sought after. Okay, if you want to destroy an enemy, get the nails out of the coffin of a dead person. There are many different ways of being able to do that. One is to have an effigy of your enemy and to drive those nails into that effigy, and that definitely will cause that person a lot of problems. Another is to drive a nail into the footsteps of an enemy.
You know, Evelyn, I can see how the police would be interested and would come to somebody like you, because they, whether or not they believe in this sort of thing, they inevitably run into cases where ritualistic magic of some sort or another has been used, and that would, whether or not they believe, it would lead them to somebody with the knowledge that you have, and it has, right?
Yes, it has, and I help determine which sect or society these people belong to by the use of the tools and by the rituals and the sigils and symbols that they leave behind.
And you're saying there's more and more of this now happening.
Yes.
In the world.
And even demonology. Because now you want to really talk about high magic. This is normally done by formidable practitioners and magicians and shamans. And what they use are the grimoires, like the Lemnigan, or the Great Grimoire. Okay, or the lesser or greater key of Solomon, or the magic of Abramelin the mage. This demonology is calling upon supernatural beings, that which has never held human form. These are the hierarchy of demons. They will not only give you knowledge and treasure and power and even immortality, and they will attempt to seduce you in any which way they can. They will also try to get you to step out of the circle, and if you do so, you are found with every bone in your body broken. But they seek knowledge, and that is why they get into demonology. They want the power over man. They want the control over mankind, and they want control over the forces and the beings and the gods of the universe. And that is why some of these practitioners go into demonology. And this is a very, very dangerous thing because they draw a circle, and then they draw a pentagram and a hexagram to evoke a demon or a supernatural being. And within this circle, they place the names of the gods and the powers and the seals and the sigils to protect them and to protect them from the forces that they are evoking. It takes many years to collect, like I said before, all of the herbs and stones and jewels that they need to perform these rituals, as well as to embroider on their robes the seals and the power sigils and names of these gods.
Boy, this is a world that I wasn't even aware of. Not this kind of world that you're talking about.
This is my world.
Yeah. And this has been your whole life. This has been, if I recall correctly, this was generationally passed on to you, wasn't it?
That is correct. I am a Genesean, and I was raised in the practice of the occult. And I was put into the evocation and summation of beings and spirits because I was trained as a spiritual warrior. And when I was dealing with those practitioners of traditions, I had to have the ability to have forces under my control to fight what I was facing.
This is a world that, for most people, is frightening.
Should be.
Well,
It's frightening to me. These beings want nothing more when you are calling upon them and they are giving you this wisdom and this knowledge and this power. You must make an offering, or you must make a sacrifice, and sometimes it becomes a blood sacrifice. And from that point, the last thing they want from you is to walk the land in human form. You're talking about beings that most people never want to encounter.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that would rather not encounter one of the...
And yet there are those who have dedicated their lives to the practice of demonology to gain this kind of power and knowledge. There are societies out there that are very old that you have guessed I'm talking about, that do this kind of ritual ceremonial magic, calling upon these beings and these entities in order for them to succeed in whatever business venture, they have going, whether it is the control of the world or not.
And I wonder how many of our very, very successful businesses have something like this behind them.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. The occult is and always has been for the elite, for the successful, for the powerful. Because again, it is the lust for control. The power of control, the manipulation of people is their desire. And it is only the elite that have that desire because they are the ones who do the controlling.
And what does that do to their soul?
You know as I know what it does to their soul. But they have already accepted that. And some even have been promised a form of immortality. There is a ritual called the transmigration of the soul. And there are those out there who truly believe it. That they
Here's what puzzles me now, Glenn. If you come to embrace some of the things that you're talking about at the high end here, that means that you believe, you have, it is your firm conviction that all of this is real. And if all of this is real, then that means you understand that your very soul, your immortal soul, for, I don't know, for something short.
No, it's not short. That's what you don't understand. When you are dealing with these supernatural beings, they can give you the ability of immortality and the transmigration of the soul. And so therefore you become as a god. That is why they are seeking the knowledge of these beings, because they are giving them the wisdom of the ancients. They are opening up the portals to knowledge that we have no comprehension of.
That sounds like a false promise, though.
Well, to them, they truly believe it.
Well, obviously they do. I mean, they essentially, whether they literally do or not, sign on the dotted line, so they're signing their soul away. It's just so hard for me to understand or embrace the idea.
But they see the result of the physical, materialistic world. And then when they are in the abstract world, they are now conversing, with beings and entities and watching the manipulation at long distance that they can perform. The speech that they have embraced blows their minds and makes them believe, because these beings have that kind of power.
Boy, all right, hold tight right there. This just blows me away. The whole thing blows me away. Apparently, there's much more to it than I can even imagine. Because I always thought to understand that evil can do something for you in this world, or even in the transmigration of the soul, eventually, the consequences close in. But maybe that's just my way of thinking. Anyway, listen, we're going to open up the phone lines, and at this point, I'm really glad to be doing that and give you an opportunity to ask Evelyn anything you would like from the high desert on North Bell. I definitely live among the creatures of the night. There's no question about that. My guest is Dr. Evelyn Lee. Her website is www.mysticalblend.com. That's mysticalblend.com. But if you don't have a computer and want to be in touch, in a moment, before we go to the phones, we'll give out the numbers once more, so have a pen and pencil ready. We'll be right back. All right, Evelyn, let's get those phone numbers out there right here at the beginning.
All right, the phone number is 818-985-9935 or 818-407-1951.
All right, Nancy from New York, in the city, asked Evelyn for the last of this last hour, why does Evelyn sound like she's saying there's no downside in Joy selling one's soul? Is she endorsing it? What about just goodness?
Oh, no, I'm not endorsing it. What I was talking about is that person who really is into demonology. They're a different mindset because they are a magician or a practitioner who has disciplined for decades in order to, as I said, gain knowledge from these supernatural beings. And they really believe that they are going to have all, including immortality. But I certainly do not adhere to it. Not at all.
Here we go. Barbara in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You're on with Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn. Hi. It's my birthday, so this is a real treat. Well, happy birthday. Thank you. Is there a way to defeat an enemy? Let's say an enemy has an image of me and a stick nails in it. How do I defeat it? Well, I'll tell you, if you cannot get, an object of theirs, meaning, something that belongs to them, or a picture of them, then what you must do to defeat them is to do a psychic self-defense or cleansing of yourself. Meaning you're going to remove that which has been placed upon you, and like a mirror or a boomerang, you're going to send it back to the center. And so if you go to my website, mysticalblend.com, look under ritual packages for psychic self-defense. That's what you need. So what you're going to do is send it right back, honey. Mirror. Yeah. Mirror. It's like a mirror. It's like a boomerang. In other words, anything being sent to you is mirrored or reflected back to them.
Okay, what is it about mirrors, Ellen? There's something about mirrors, right?
Oh, definitely. In fact, I have a class up there called Mirror Magic that is absolutely phenomenal. It is the way in which you can defend yourself from any spirit or entity, as well as the ability of scrying, as well as the ability of being able to go into past lives to see your reincarnation. It is a portal or a doorway in order for you to open up to let spirits or forces or energies in. Mirror magic is just phenomenal, and it's very ancient.
All right, here comes Wade in Kentucky. You're on with Evelyn Paglini.
Hi, what are y'all doing?
Hi.
Good. My question is, kind of a general question, but how do you get movies and motion pictures in Hollywood's portrayal of magic to actual magic?
Well, I'll tell you, lately, okay, and I'll say some of the television shows and some of the movies are giving more precise information. There is an awful lot to magic that people do not recognize, and so I think they're tablespooning it. Now, yes, there are times that they exaggerate, but believe me, there's more than meets the eye out there.
Evelyn, have you ever been asked to consult for television or?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Okay. All right, here comes Billy in Iowa. Billy, you're on with
Good morning. I just called you last year and talked to you about this. I delivered newspapers, and I had a Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper grabbed me. Okay, he put his hand on my shoulder, and all I could see was his long fingers. He had on the black gloves, he must have stood 8 feet tall, and he leaned over and he was looking at me, but I could not see his face.
I remember that call.
Okay, see, when he did this, it's like, after I got thought about it, I could feel the energy coming from him, but also, after he had grabbed me like that, the whole left side of my body had tingled for about 30 minutes afterwards. And I was like, I can't get past this. I was like, I'm just wondering what does it represent? I mean, is the Grim Reaper a devil? Is he a demon? Is he what is he?
Well, if it was the real Grim Reaper, that is the person who is either giving you a warning of death to come. It may not also be you. It could be a family member or somebody that is close to you. If you felt real drained of energy, okay, after he removed his hands from your shoulder, then what he was doing was marking you. In other words, you're sensitive. And so therefore, you probably get an awful lot of intuition and premonitions of things to come.
Yeah.
That's why you're marked, honey. In other words, that's one that they will watch you. They will watch your development. You're a very sensitive person. I would certainly start keeping a journal.
Okay, yeah, I've seen lots of ghosts and stuff, you know, too.
Okay, well, there you are. You just confirmed what you said. I wonder, Evelyn, how many people, that lady, for example, said, look, the Grim Reaper grabbed me. Well, something grabbed her, and she got it together, I think it was the Grim Reaper, but it could have been anything, right?
That's correct. It was an entity, a being that had found her and tapped into her sensitivity. There are people out there that have clairvoyance, clairaudience, and that are highly sensitive. And there are beings that are attracted to them. And some of them will touch them, mark them, so to speak, so that they watch their development. And if they start to lean toward, let's say, the dark side, naturally the seduction begins.
All right. Patty in Philadelphia, you're on with Dr. Evelyn Paglini.
Hi, Art and Doctor. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I
have a personal question. I've been working with a company for a long time for a mortgage settlement for me, and I was wondering if you could tell me what months they'll be successful for my funds, because it's been very difficult.
Well, I have to have a little bit more information, honey. I need to know what is the name of the company and how long has this been going on.
No, we can't do that on
See, just that's on a personal level, because I have to get into the vibration of what she's up against and what they've got against her.
How could she figure it out for herself?
Well, what she would have to do is she would probably know all the information, and what she can do if she wants to have a settlement, look at the legal injustice, and she can design it in such a way where she can force the issue so that therefore she will have the result in a timely manner. It's something that I need to design because I have to have more information.
I see.
But I can design it for you. And if you have the strength of mind, and if you are desperate enough to do the ritual because it's important enough to you, you can get some results.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, honey. Thank you very much for the call. Hope you made me with good contact. Kelly in San Antonio, Texas. Your turn with Update.
Hi, Art. It's pleasure. Another woman asked the same question earlier, but I need to ask it for myself as well. If you feel as though someone you talk to or generally diabolical is against you, you mentioned the mirror protection, correct?
Yes. However, what I would suggest, honey, understand, you may or may not know or be sure the individual that you believe has done something to you.
Welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Things seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet things every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. This is Dreamland. Good evening, everybody. This should be quite the program. As promised, we will have Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute here. What an honor that is. Here, Monroe, actually Robert Monroe, just Robert Monroe. Coming up next, he'll tell us about the Monroe Institute. Have you ever wondered about travel? Not the type you take on a domestic airline, but the type you might take from your own body. Robert Monroe did. He'll tell you about it coming up. You're listening to Dreamland on the CBC Radio Network. I'm Mark Bell. Well, good evening, everybody. The Monroe Institute travels through the body. The Monroe Institute was founded by Robert Monroe, a former broadcasting executive who began to undergo spontaneous experiences in 1958 that drastically altered his life. Unpredictably and without feeling, Richard Monroe found himself leaving his physical body via a second body to explore locales unbounded by conventional concepts of time and space. He has documented these experiences in Journeys Out of the Body, a double-day book, in 1971, published in 8 languages worldwide, and in Far Journeys, double-day 1985. The Monroe Institute had its origins in the Research and Development Division of Interstate Industries Incorporated, which began investigating methods and techniques of accelerated learning in the late 1950s. That investigation led to some remarkable discoveries that dealt with the very nature of human consciousness. As a result, the basis of the research effort was expanded considerably. In 1971, the Institute was created to supplement that research effort. As a school, the Monroe Institute is composed of 2 divisions, and we will hear from spokesmen of both. The Education Division, which conducts classes and seminars and disseminates tapes, other materials, and direct application of the methods it has developed, and the Research Division, which conducts ongoing studies in enhancement of human consciousness and the development of methods and techniques that may result in practical use thereof. And that is from a Monroe Institute pamphlet. And here, all the way from Faber, Virginia, is Robert Monroe. Mr. Monroe, welcome to the program. It is an honor. Gia, do we have more than one person on the phone line here? Because it's very weak. Very weak, yes. Okay, we're going to have to do that because I can't hear you. That's a little bit better. Are you now the only phone line on?
Now I'm the only one.
Oh, that is much, much better.
All right.
Much better. Anyway, welcome. It sure is an honor to have you here, Mr. Monroe.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen after all this New Year's stuff.
Yes, isn't that quite the occurrence?
That was very, very good.
Mr. Monroe, if you would please take us all back and tell us how this began for you.
Well, it's an odd thing because unexpected is the better way to put it. Back in 1956, my company was looking for some emergency type of things to do, so we got the idea that perhaps we could in turn help people learn during sleep. So being a specialist in sound, because of all of our company history, we in turn obviously began to use sound. First thing we found out in order to help people get to sleep was how to get them to sleep. So what we did was develop some particular sound waveforms that help people to go easily into sleep. And then we were beginning to test that after that. I being one of the chief subjects, that we started in 56. In 1958, I began to notice some odd effects of it. And it was a funny kind of vibration. That's what it felt like, except it wasn't a physical vibration. And I went to my favorite doctors and so on, and they said, "Oh no, you're fine, don't worry." And so I finally had the courage to wait to see what this, instead of forcing myself out of this vibration. I finally said, "Well, it's going to kill me. I'll let it kill me, and I'll have to try it." So I stayed with it, and after about 5 minutes, it faded out. And so therefore, I tolerated it when it went from, and it didn't happen every night, maybe once or twice a week or something like that. So I would wait till it's completed, and then after it was through or faded out, well, then I'd go to sleep. And on one fateful night in September of '58, I was on a Friday night waiting for this to fade away so that I could go to sleep calmly. And in the midst of that, I began to think, well, tomorrow is Saturday, and being a sailplane pilot, and a member up in the New York area, I was thinking that a cold front would come through, and there'd be a nice, beautiful ridge lift and thermal the next day, and on Saturday, and I'd be flying around in Gladius and sailplane. And as I was thinking how nice that would be in the sense of storing power that there is in a thermal inside, all of a sudden I felt myself bumping against something. And I looked around, and to my surprise, I was on some kind of flat surface. And I said, I wonder what this is. This is a strange kind of dream. I'm fully conscious. And then I looked around, and I thought, well, this is a strange thing to dream. Here's the thing that looks like a fountain coming out of the floor, as it were. And then I suddenly, with a shock, realized that what I thought was the fountain was the chandelier in the bedroom. So I turned with astonishment and rolled over it, and in that bumping against the ceiling, I looked down, and there in the bed below, there I was in the bed below, and there was my wife lying in bed beside me. Except that as I saw it at first, I didn't think that. I I didn't recognize myself because here I was bouncing against the ceiling. What was that? So my first thought was, what a dream. I wonder who I'm dreaming is in my bed with my wife. And after a little closer look, and I'm still against the ceiling, I realized the man in bed with my wife was I. So I was frightened. I said, I'm dying. This is a dying process, and I'm not ready to die yet. So I fought my way vigorously, swimming down through the air of the world, and somehow popped back in my body. And I sat up and looked around, and there's my wife down there asleep, and I looked up, and there's ceiling with a chandelier. And I obviously didn't get to sleep that night.
What an incredible experience. Now, you said that you were experimenting with some sounds or some audio in order to assist you with sleep. Can you amplify that? What were you doing? And
well, this was a pattern that we had developed, but I hadn't done anything with it for over a year, and nobody else has had anything remotely like this particular pattern.
Okay, so it was not due to that, and whatever was occurring to you was utterly spontaneous?
It seems that way. In other words, we were looking for any type of possible answers, and that was when we thought, well, that would affect other people, because we had about 100 subjects that we used in it, but it didn't affect anybody else. It was not even the semblance of it. So anyway, the most important thing was that I was so sure that was the beginning of the dying process, and I was terrified. And you can't imagine how terror-stricken one can be or panic-stricken, because every time I had to go to the doctor, not finding it still innocent comment about it. I had great trouble of letting myself let that happen and finding that if I released or just let go a little bit when that took place, I would pull it out of my body. And each time I thought I was dying. So anyway, that went back to some more physical exams, and I finally got the courage to go to a doctor, a psychiatrist friend in New York named Louis Goldberg. And he said, well, I can tell you one thing. He says, I know that you're sane. I know you too well, so don't worry about any psychotic thing because you're not that type. So I said, well, what do I do? I said, I don't know. You can go to the sky. I have to take psychiatry and find it if you want. It might take a while. And I said, well, I'll think about it. So anyway, after about 10 additional episodes, something like that, I finally realized that floating out and floating around the room was not going to kill me because I could think a certain way and I'd get back in my physical body.
Until that moment, though, it must have been absolutely terrifying.
It was, and I couldn't get, being very much an engineering type, I couldn't find any common scientific answers for it. The only one was dualism, psychosis, and things like that. So that was the big problem because I couldn't find an appropriate answer. So after about the 10th time, I finally realized, well, it's not going to kill me. I'm not in the death process. Well, that made something else come up entirely worse. That's curiosity.
I'm sure it did, yes.
It's not a serious part. Anyway, so I began to experiment with it around the room and so on. I found I could only go a certain distance away from my physical body. And it was as if there was something holding me back. And I finally answered that because I split it. The other part of it, life secrets, as it were. The thing that was holding me so heavily was that I had this very strong central sexual urge. And I, of course, obviously tried to wake my wife. Had no luck there.
And that was binding you?
It was keeping me close to my physical body because it was related to a physical drive. Anyway, I used the old Enochian principle on that side way to overcome and my need to go beyond 30 feet from the body. And you probably don't know the Enoch technique, do you?
No, sir, I don't.
You're too young. Enoch had a thing where he did a lot of, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, well, he had a formula that was very, very effective for pre-puberty children who came to see his movies on Saturday afternoon. And in a movie house. To make it very short, what the technique was that he in the movie would meet a girl, and then he would have a big fight with the bad guy, and he would overcome the bad guy, and after he overcame him, he'd go to the girl and he'd say, "Oh, gee, you're so wonderful." He'd look up with her at it, and Dean would look down, and all the audience and learned how he could tell. But all the girls are going, and all the boys said, "Oh, he ain't going to kiss her, is he?" So what he did, learning that, he had a formula in his picture. That what he did, he said, he said to her, "Honey, I love you, and I'll catch you later. But first, I want to sing you a song." So he picked up his guitar and started singing, and they rode off in the sunset, never time satisfied. So my answer, and finally getting out of that one, is Lee's answer. Fine, I'll figure this sexual drive of mine. I'll get to you later. But first, I want to do this other. And sure enough, it worked.
So, you know, you covered it psychologically,
That's right.
and that released you.
That's right.
Then what?
Then began a series of experiments, and I took this research team that I had and turned them loose and tried to find information about this. And we found quite quickly that there was what was an underground, is the word, you know, we're talking about like in the 50s, 59, which was the area where all the, you find the trans people and all types of missing things, and call it Dreamland if you want. Well, anyway, after a long period of time, we found out the usual ones there, and I had a meeting with that's right at the beginning of parapsychology. And I went down and met with J.B. Ryan, for example. I thought you know that name or not.
No, sir.
Well, he was the leading figure in parapsychology in that era, about 1968. Anyway, to make it short, that was it, and he said on a Saturday at State University, and he was very interesting, but he said, it's not my department. And I said, well, what is your department? He said, oh, we work with Congress. And I said, oh, thinking that I had a overview the night before. And he explained how they were to have subject testing, and subjects were psychic abilities by having them recharged before they turned over the testing.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, anyway, so I left, and as I was going out the door, the research assistant, Dr. Ryan, opened the door to get me out. Mr. Renell, I said, look, you don't worry about it. I said, what? Why? Because I do it too. And that was the first person I had ever heard who had ever done anything like it. And then following up that, mind you now, the spirit taking it away and was trying to do something about it. That's another question. So I had another friend, a psychologist, named Foster Redshaw, and I finally got the courage to talk to him about it. And he said, oh, that's nothing new. I said, well, I'm glad to hear that. He says, a very easy way to handle it. I said, what do you mean? He says, it's always go over to India. That's if you live with in a ashram with a guru for some time, and you take it all and get it all fixed up in your mind. And I said, well, speaking about my business and my home and my wife and children. And I said, well, how long will this take? He said, well, it's not important how long it takes. What, how long do you think it takes? He said, well, maybe 10 to 15 to 20 years. And I had my usual run with him, and I said, well, Brad, what would you do? I know he had boys that had 2 grandparents, and that's why he's an industrial psychologist in New York, making things like that. I said, what would you do, Brad? He looked at me with his lofty smile and said, it's not my problem, it's yours.
Yeah, nice answer. How much experimentation did you begin to do with this? In other words, once you realized it wasn't going to kill you, as you continue to have these experiences, what did you try to do?
Well, I tried the very simple things, obviously, first, and that is going to the walls of the house and out and around and just checking out where things are going upward, obviously, and being a pilot in an airplane, usually you often go and play in the clouds. And see if I no longer had fear, but I gradually began to expand it, and my main key in the early era was to get stuff I could verify. Such as go to some person's house and visit with them and try to make some kind of appearance or get information and bring it back.
Were you able to do that?
Very much so. And to my very pleasant surprise, as a matter of fact, in several cases I appeared as a piece of procedure, not knowing that I was there. That's what I didn't announce it. I was going to go visit them that particular evening or whatever, but I appeared as sort of a little bit of a swirling green mist, and that's what they call me. Not as a physical person, but as a green mist. Well, anyway, it's most important to recognize that it was fully a year of this type of experimentation before I myself was convinced of the reality of it. That it was not an hallucination or a wild dream thing or whatever. It took a whole year of this before I said, yes, this is real.
Did you, as time went on, were you more easily able to attain the state where you would be able to travel outside?
Oh, yes, very much. That's what all of it was. And then I got, as we moved into the early 60s, I probably began to do all different types of experimentation and going to the coast and back and everything else.
Oh, that's remarkable. Mr. Monroe, hold on just a moment. We'll be right back to you. We're interviewing Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute. This is Dreamland. Mr. Monroe, if you are there, we are now right at the top of the hour. And so we're going to pause for about 5 minutes and do the news and so forth and so on, and come right back. So stay put, relax for a few minutes. We'll be right back to you, okay?
Very good.
All right, great. Mr. Monroe, Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute, back in a moment as we talk about states of consciousness that perhaps can be achieved by you, perhaps by everybody, if only they knew how to do it. Talk about inexpensive travel. This is Dreamland. Well, we will continue with your calls or begin your calls shortly. My guest is Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute. And he's been describing a very early experience or series of experiences he had with journeys out of the body. This is really, I guess, the genesis of the Monroe Institute, internationally famed for what it does. And Mr. Monroe, are you there?
Oh, I think I'm here anyway.
Oh, you are, although I suppose with you, one never knows for sure.
No, they know for sure. I've gotten past that now.
Tell me, there's been a lot of scientific study and some not so scientific of the near-death experience.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you thought it might have been an NDE that you were having. Is there a relationship to the NDE?
Not in the sense that it's commonly been researched in recent years. We were very methodical at it. You got to understand that simultaneously with all of this, I in turn operated the company, and we moved out of the broadcasting program production that is, instead of going to the West Coast, we moved down to where we had 3 radio stations down in Virginia and North Carolina. And we set up a facility here and began a very serious research. And the first thing that we found out was that conventional science did not have any means of measuring anything like this at all.
Right.
The closest thing was the biological and electrical science, and we got into those relatively early. But in going down to Virginia, then we did set up a research facility where we could indeed see if it was possible to measure other people in similar states. And in the beginning of that, we enlisted a PhD doctor, young friend, who's been a friend ever since, back in the 60s. And we began some very serious experimentation. And the name of Charlie Tart. I don't know whether you heard Charlie or not.
No, sir. Were you able to actually document any biological changes that occurred during this state?
We began to match them up, and we found that, generally speaking, we also developed methods and techniques, but we had an average of about 8 to 10 subjects we were using constantly in the 60s and 70s in Virginia, in Richmond, and then in Charlottesville. Incidentally, what brought us into Charlottesville is that we got into the cable business.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm very familiar with it. I guess we've been down similar roads. My background is in cable television and broadcasting.
And you know, even then, in the whole idea we were microwave signals here, I thought, someday that's what cable's going to be. It'll be that like stuff. Anyway, to make it short, there was no means of measuring other than the conventional signals. And we found one of the things, there were 2 states that came out biologically, and I mean chemically and electrically. One of them was dreaming sleep, and that was when one was near the physical body. The second one was in stage 4 sleep, which is deep sleep, delta sleep, and that is when the major activity, and what we coined the phrase and became generic, we didn't like to call it the old phrase of astral traveling because it had too much of a mystical flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So we coined the term out of body, which has now become generic, as you know. But what we found is that these extended distance type of activity all had to do with stage 4 sleep.
If I might, Mr. Monroe, how are you actually able to document that? If a person is there sleeping, how do you correlate the time of the out-of-body experience with a particular state of sleep?
Well, it was very simple. In the 60s, it became a lot simpler than it might seem first. We took various types of body measurements, electrical measurements, and occasionally then we got into EEG patterns, but we did not have the equipment at that time to be able to do it properly. Anyway, what we found is that when a person was in one stage of sleep, our subjects who in turn became proficient, I might add, before we was out of body, we took readings on them in the activities that they were doing and matched them up with the biological signs of these 2 different stages of sleep. And this is where we began to get the connection that led us to really where we are now. But through those early periods, we did some of it. We did it in VA, for example, back in the early days of the 60s, and that's where we at least got the beginning of working on the EEG pattern. Out of that, we attracted attention from various scientific people as a result of just simply word spreading that we were looking at something from a different point of view as against the strictly mystical approach to it.
How was the conventional scientific community reacting to your work then?
They reacted with a great deal of skepticism until one and more of them began to experience things in the system that were slowly, painfully developing. And it was kind of a thing that working on a means of getting past the hard rocks that I had encountered. And the first one, of course, is fear. The second one is the reality of what it is. It doesn't take nearly so much work to have people determine the reality. And we're not talking about college students, which are often the critical subjects. These are people that, one way or another, had heard about what we were doing and became interested in it, like a physicist and psychologist set out. And that was the beginning back in the 60s. And moving slowly through the 60s, we developed means of inducing these various states. And in inducing those states, we got a very simple. The first one was, and we gave them labels so they would be impartial in terms of states of consciousness. The first one is very simple. We call it mind awake and body asleep. And this is what we call focus 10. And so we did establish these different types of states of consciousness that we could induce by using these very particular sound patterns. And so by the 70s, we had it said simply because the word would get out to among the scientific community, and those who were curious or had something similar happening to them were attracted to our work.
All right, are these the sounds that are now known as the hemi-sync tapes?
The hemi-sync tapes, yes.
Hemi as in hemisphere of the brain, I think.
Right. And what these patterns we did find was it's a special method that we didn't invent, what's called binaural beats, but we did indeed use that as a system of a means of getting these low frequency vibrational patterns into the brain. In other words, a binaural beat, it puts say a 100 hertz signal in one ear, which you can hear, and a 104 hertz signal in the other ear, and the brain has synthesized that 4 hertz differential. That's what a binaural beat is.
So you end up with a 4 hertz that the brain itself hears?
The brain itself has to synthesize that by that synchronization of the hemispheres. Because one signal is in one ear and the other signal is in the opposite ear. And the net differential.
Yes.
And I said we didn't invent that. It was just the actual waveform are the ones that we put together.
Okay, then is it the 4 hertz signal that the brain hears that actually enables or assists in attaining the state you're talking about?
Yeah, it's a combination. We now use multiple combinations thereof. But that's how we first began, by getting these very simple combination patterns going. And in terms of where that got, it's quite a interesting story. But bring you up through the years to give you an idea of where we are now. We have a 20-channel EEG system and an isolation booth where we have got a great deal of the RF out of it. And we use that in an awful lot of research. And we'll turn you over to Skip Atwater and let him talk a little bit about research patterns that will help.
All right, I would love that, and go right ahead. Coming is Skip Atwater. And Skip Atwater, are you there?
Yes.
Skip, what division do you head up for Mr. Monroe?
The research that you mentioned earlier in the introduction.
Yes. Fascinating stuff that you folks are doing. What can you tell us about the present state of your research? In other words, what all this has led to?
Yeah, the present day research is really due to the age of computers, all the work that has been promoted that over the 2 decades prior to the invention of the computer world, analysis is now being validated. He has always been ahead of his time and the notions he has about what we're going on, what was going on is now being proven to be true by looking at the brainwave states through computerized electroencephalography. Actually measures the brainwave with a brain mapping system that runs off a computer, not the charts and squiggly lines that we've all seen on drug commercials and things like that, but actual computerized analysis of the brainwave states.
What are you actually able to chart? This is fascinating. What can you chart about the brain besides electrical activity?
Well, we can see how the sound patterns originally invented by Mr. Monroe affect the change in the patterns of the brain, and those changes then have been identified over the years as being characteristic of states of consciousness. So you can actually see dissociative states of consciousness and transcendent states of consciousness as they're experienced by the people reflected in the brainwave states.
Wow. That's a significant accomplishment. What if somebody were there and we were actually observing this underway? How are you able to document this using a computer? Is it just that I'm totally lost? In other words, getting a little bit technical with me if you can. What exactly do you look at?
What we do is watch an overall flowing pattern of brainwaves. The brainwaves are the result of electrical neuron firing in all levels of the brain and reflected up on the scalp as activity of the brain. Not all things actually occur in the neocortex, or that gray layer over the top of the brain. The brain is active electrically regions down to the side. And what you see as the pattern of activity on the top of the scalp, those are electrodes as a result of all that activity in the brain. So it's actually the computer figuring out all that information.
Right, but that is in essence what an EEG does as well, is it not? In what way does the point you come to differ from an EEG?
Well, this is the state-of-the-art of EEG work in terms of analysis. It's not just the squiggly line graph. You can take and make a map of activity, totally topographic map, like you might see a weather map of the United States as the clouds pass over, as the weather front pass over. You can see that same type of information passing over the scalp and over the surface of the brain. And by analyzing those changing patterns, based on the known concepts of brain activity, you can see the state of consciousness that people move through this in response to the chemical system.
All right, when somebody achieves this state and is in fact traveling as Mr. Monroe has, what changes do you document?
People usually start out with what we call the alpha state, where in the back of the head is high amplitude alpha, they're just laying there resting before moving into the state. That pattern changes as they move into what the sleep researchers call stage 4 sleep, and what the consciousness researchers would call a dissociative state of consciousness, or dissociating from the physical awareness of the body. That's the result is the high amplitude delta frequency happening right on the top of the head.
Wow. All right. That's quite incredible. And so where do you go from here in your research? As you would, I'm sure, continue to try to document this, what is ahead for the Institute?
Well, the first half, 5 years ago, when all this became a feasible thing to do to actually map the activity of the brain is a response to the stimulus and the process was to improve the baseline measuring the population of people and then changing those patterns slightly, improving the process
No. I want to ask you a question. Do we have more than one telephone on the line now?
Right now there is.
Yes, I'm sorry to ask, but would it be possible to have just one phone at a time online? It's reducing the audio too far.
All right, hold on and I'll get off.
Well, by all means, come back.
Is that a little better?
That's quite a bit better. Yes, thank you.
All right. The situation has turned progressed from there, and now we are able to record the brainwaves of people who have specific talents like Mr. Gronos for travel talent, but included in that are other human talents like a concert pianist, or an architect, or a noted author, or a computer programmer. And by mapping the patterns of those, we are trying to develop sounds that might be able to pass these talents on to other people.
Wow. Now that's quite a line of research to be following. How are you able to answer? I'm really wandering around here because I don't know what I really don't know what I'm talking about. So excuse the ignorance, but how are you able to map, for example, somebody with a great computer talent or somebody who's a concert pianist, and what differences are you able to note between that individual and anybody else?
Yes, that's ongoing research. What we try to get them to do is to perform their talent while being mapped, while being recorded. We can record a baseline recording where they're not performing their particular art, and then make a recording while they're performing their art. And if we can get 5, 6, 12 pianists that could play the piano just exquisitely, and we know the commonality between that pattern is different from the general population while they do this, then we can identify the specific state of consciousness that would enhance the concert.
And you have documented this?
In some talents, yes, it's hard to collect data on all these things, but there are some talents that we have been able to identify.
And are you able to see similar activity in a specific part of the brain with regard to a very talented person, or does it vary according to what the talent is?
Both according to the talent and according to the person. This is the brain. Each one of our brains is not identical. They are anatomically different as we grow from infancy to adulthood. The folds, increases, and changes in our brain are all different. Fortunately, there are some common patterns, and it's ferreting out those common patterns over hundreds and hundreds of subjects that we've had.
Wow, that's quite a task you've undertaken. And I suppose when we get to the practical applications, we get into the educational division. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, I would like to ask that you hold on just one moment. We'll come right back to you, and we are interviewing actually a number of individuals from the Monroe Institute. We'll be right back. All right, and once again, that's Holmes Atwater, who's a researcher for the Monroe Institute. And are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good. We've got only a couple of moments before the bottom of the hour. But how much of your research now is able to be translated into educational help for people who want to know more about this? In other words, how much of what you have done has become practical application?
Yes, there are. That's a really good question. Because we want to be practically useful, to do research and do work in this area, never develop any practical applications to improve it. And we have developed a lot of practical applications over the years that have proven now for 3 decades to be a benefit to people. We have a number of brochures and literature about the use of our techniques with professional people, dentists, lawyers, therapists, educators who use the different techniques in their own profession, as well as individuals on their own personal voices or consciousness to look into this technique for themselves. see if it works within that.
So in other words, there is help for, there's certainly help for individuals. Is it in the area of, well, I'll tell you what, we're at the bottom of the hour. Let's hold up just a moment. We'll come right back to you. And this, of course, is Dreamland on the CBC Radio Network. Journeys out of the body. We're discussing them. And what practical implications knowledge of these things might have for all of us. We'll be back. Everybody, welcome back. I am Art Bell. We're interviewing Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute and company, most recently at Holmes Atwater, who heads the research division at the Monroe Institute. And back now to the group. Hello there. Hi, is this still David?
Would you like to talk to Robert?
Sure, go ahead and put him on. Thank you, David.
Art?
Yes, sir.
I'm honored to get our Facebook very accurate. We were very covert up until 1969, Gary said simply for the reason that I was operating very sensational businesses. And I was very concerned when turning out of the body and agreed to it, simply because I thought the whole business will affect my stockholders and so on in my company.
Yes, of course.
Interestingly enough, they didn't read those kind of books.
So it really, there was not a problem.
Not a problem. It was very interesting, and so we were still very private in the work that we were doing up until the mid-70s when Eflin, I don't know if you know about Eflin.
I do, yes.
Yeah, heard about our work and invited us to conduct a workshop up at Big Sur. And we thought, this will give us a whole bunch of new subjects to test for the material we had. So we agreed to it, and we went up and did a workshop. They immediately invited us to go to San Francisco and do another one the next weekend. And we had never thought of doing anything like that. So we originally said, we got to give this a name. So we call it the M5000 program.
M5000.
The reason that if we had 5,000 different subjects we could test, we'd have a wonderful base for data.
Of course.
Well, it didn't work quite like that, but what happened was that we began to get calls from other people as a result of that about other programs doing this, coming over in other ways and other places. And I'll turn you now over to Dave Mulvey, and we'll let you tell you exactly what happened, all right?
All right, wonderful, thank you. Dave Mulvey coming up, he heads the educational portion of the Monroe Institute.
Well, it's not head exactly, but I am one of the trainers for the educational program.
Fine, David. And now you take the science and you apply it. How do you do that?
Well, that's correct. We have 4 basic programs. And one is a basic introductory program with people. And then we have 3 graduate programs. And we use this technology to give people a set of mental tools. There's understandable perception, perhaps misconception out there all the time, that the programs are about the out-of-body experience. That's what Mr. Monroe is so well noted for. However, the programs are much more detailed than that. It's much more about personal exploration for oneself.
All right, why might I come to you? What trouble might I have, or symptom might I have that I might want to explore or help with all of you?
Okay, generally I wouldn't say that people come necessarily with problems or symptoms, but more of a curiosity, a sense of wanting to know more about themselves, about their relationship to life and the physical side of themselves, and of course many people have at least an understanding or a glimmer of the non-physical side of themselves. So it's the curious here to find out more about who they are, and what we like to do is give them some tools that then they can think out and apply, not only in terms of exploration of consciousness, but also in terms of day-to-day practical tools that they can use to enhance their memory, to focus in the business, for example, or to tap into a greater problem, part of themselves for creative problem solving.
So concentration exercises.
Yeah. Signals help people get into specific brainwave states so that they can then learn to transfer types of tools or intelligence that they can then take out into their day-to-day life.
How well does it work?
It works very well, and it's based primarily on people's subjective reports. We do get a lot of feedback after the program, and we get letters and calls back from people who talk about how these tools enhance their lives in all kinds of ways that they might not be prepared for.
Well, do people come to you for a weekend or a week or a month, or how does that work?
Yes, most of our programs here in Virginia, all of our programs in Virginia are 5.5-day residential programs where they come and they are here immersed in the process. We also do weekend workshops. We just started doing this weekend workshops out at various places around the country. We've done several in Chicago. I had a couple take place in California. I had one coming out in August in California. And if I might, could I give our phone number for people who might be interested in getting more information about the program?
Of course. Yes, of course.
Okay, my phone number here is area code 804, number 361-1256. And we have people standing by you now, and also there is a message they call out your office hours. So people are interested in getting more literature about the program, about the institute. We would certainly welcome their call.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. Well, I hope you get a lot of calls. Again, these would be people who would like to explore more of their inner self. Is that about right? More of their inner self or physical self or both?
But it's both. We also have training of sleep exercises that the people can listen to at home in addition to the program. Yeah, so that's the outreach for education. And some of the physically related sleep exercises are part of a whole series that we call Human Plus, or H Plus for short.
All right. I had somebody in Crestwell, Oregon, who had a question for Mr. Monroe, but maybe you'd be the one to answer it, though. It is this. Why the Focus 21 on Kenny Sink tapes are not offered for sale in your catalog?
Okay, that's a good question and a frequently asked question. Just to familiarize your listeners, might not be familiar with various Focus tapes, I try to do a quick review that in our program, starts Mr. Murrow already mentioned the Focus 10, which is a basic thing called Find Your Way Project Sleep. Beyond that, we have Focus 12, which is David Expanded Awareness. Once someone has learned to continually physical message, get intake conscious, then they can start expanding their experience beyond those physical messages. We have another Focus 12 called 15, which is a state of no time. We're used to that. And then Focus 21, which your caller referred to, that we call a bridge into other energies, to other non-physical realms where people can visit or gather information or get questions, larger parts of themselves, or perhaps some people consider this things outside themselves. The question was, why are those things not the advanced things not available to the general public?
That's right.
Yeah, and we have several reasons for that. One of them is that we really feel like these higher focus levels, powerful focus levels, it is most appropriate that people listen to them in the context of programs that we offer with support of training staff. Not that we feel that people might have bad experiences, but they might have very powerful experiences that would be helpful that you have some counseling or a possibility to help integrate these very powerful experiences.
All right. Is there anything dangerous about achieving any of these states, specifically dangerous?
No, nothing at all specifically dangerous about it. We just feel that it's appropriate for them to have preparation and understanding of what they're likely to experience in these sorts of things, so that they are prepared for what they might encounter.
How do the states that you help people achieve differ in any way from traditional meditation techniques?
I'm not sure necessarily ours to say too. what we have attempted to do is give a very neutral label, like Focus 10, Focus 12, Focus 16. And we pick those numbers specifically to have no kind of loading on it. I know what you said is for a certain teacher or anything.
Sure.
But numbers that would be as neutral as possible, so that no matter what discipline someone comes from, be it in meditation or some form of Hinduism or yoga or whatever, that they could work within their own system and use this new technology to augment their journey.
So then, David, is it the case that one might take several different roads to get to the same destination?
Absolutely. And one of the things that I feel really strongly about, and one of the reasons I'm very comfortable in working with the process here, is that it is that kind of neutral process where we literally had people from all walks of life, doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists. We had priests, we had nuns, we had swamis, rabbis, even one fundamentalist minister who had come to the program and felt that there was nothing within this process that has to conflict with their beliefs.
That's
Not
right.
to say that they might not have experience to think about, but we don't say that we have the answers. What we feel like we're doing are providing people the tools so that they can develop their own answers.
All right, wonderful. If you put Mr. Monroe back, we'll go through some questions, and I'm sure we'll have you back on as the questions come up.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Monroe is coming back on at this point.
All right, I will take this moment to do a quick break. We'll be right back, and when we come back, once again, Robert Monroe. Back to it we are, and Robert Monroe, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. I've got a couple of questions before we open the phone lines.
Yes, indeed.
All right. In your latest book, Ultimate Journey, you discuss the park, a place where people are sometimes taken after they die to acclimate to their new state and decide their next move. How could one go about reaching the park on their own, either out of body or after death?
Well, let me give you I'll make it short as much as I can. Our pattern has been odd, but okay, we're a need among the people who know us arises. We produce something that was effective. We have, for example, an emergency treatment thing that's used in hospitals during surgery. Emergency effective at the present time. The major studies being done at the University of California, Davis, regarding that particular thing that's been so effective for the last 5 years, and finally it's going to get an official report on it. That's one of the things. We have one stroke recently, for example, that it's only because it's the first we need it. We have it. Then, this pattern in Ultimate Journey, you have it?
Yes, sir.
Good. And I don't have to go into great detail, but for the public a little bit.
Right.
One of the things that we had neglected was that we happily, because we were operating so heavily in areas beyond physical life, we did not get to the issue of death itself. And so what happened very simply is that, as in so many cases, in my own case, the need outweighs anything else. And 3 years ago, my wife, Nancy, contracted breast cancer. And as a result, I, in my physical demand way, said, well, let's provide a system whereby I can be sure that she goes to a place where she has on die, that I would be able to find her and be with her. I came out then that I had read in the book. I discovered that all the way back in the 60s, I had been escorted to a place called the Park, which is a wait station for people after they died, so they can cool off from the trauma, as it were, of dying, and figure out what they want to do next. Anyway, from that and researching that, and also with the various people that knew that already died, we set up a program called Lifeline, Dave Mayer actually, but which in essence is one to in turn help get totally familiar with the process of moving from Focus 23, which is right at the central vent, up to what we call Focus 27, which is the park. We didn't invent the park. It's been there for many years. I found out to my great surprise. But anyway, as of now, we've had 3 years, roughly 400 people participated in this particular program, and they have made, during the program, only during the program, each of those 400 people have made 5 runs retrieving someone out of Focus 23 who was bewildered and shocked and escorting them up to this way station park where they could cool off. Each has done it 5 times. How many of them have made those documented runs? It is a total of 2,000.
Wow.
Big stuff.
Big stuff. Yes.
And they do in turn, and there is we have a postgraduate study on that going where we are verifying the data of the person who exercised and trying to get information that can be verified. It's quite difficult because it's out of time, if you understand what I mean.
I do.
Somebody who's wandering around at 23 and not knowing what to do and bewildered for maybe 100 years.
Right, okay, well, that leads me to this. You discussed the concept of time being a physical earthly phenomenon, accepted as a condition of entry. I gather this, that lives, times, and events are happening simultaneously. This is a very confusing concept.
It is indeed, and it was very, very surprising how we are locked into certain things that are considered 2 times space, and time is one of the key ones. And when you get up into these other space to space, you gotta realize that time is not, you can usually come backwards or go forward. And just in your own personal life and in other lives, you are locked into we think 1994, but it isn't so.
But it is not so.
It is not so.
What do you think of lucid dreaming as a springboard in having an OBE? And also, where do dreams fit into the picture? Do they?
Well, I'll quote the real thing that is getting more and more arcane, and that is that lucid dreaming is the equivalent we found out over the years, in that long time ago. Is the equivalent of our Focus 15. Lucid dreamer can evaporate the dream. There he is. And he's in the equivalent of our Focus 15, which is a nice place to play in terms of no time because you can move that time around in other areas. How does your dreams? One thing that we call it a process of converting unknowns into knowns, or converting beliefs into knowns. And they are not particularly important unless you can do so. Well, one of the things is, the important thing is that we have grown to know that what we are is far more than this one single life. And we are totally in a form of consciousness that is very local, as it were. And the dreams that are interpreted are the means of our total self, attempting to get signals down to this conscious self here. And that's why sometimes they're very wild, and sometimes they're very funny, and sometimes they're just pure information. But that seems to be the direction that we feel that humankind has to go, begin to get past this discriminative circuit. And that's what we are doing, and get into that knowledge of that totality of what we are. And it's being done. We're not the only people doing it, of course.
Mr. Monroe, you've done very important work. It's known internationally. I want to ask you a hard question. When your time comes and you pass, what will happen to the Monroe Institute, and will the work continue?
that is very specifically, has been set up to do that. There's much too many people involved in it, not just here, but as you say, worldwide. A number of illustrations, but it is being set up so that it will have a support system to continue well into the 21st century.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, and I know a lot of people have wondered about it. If we could, Mr. Monroe, very quickly, let's try and begin to take a couple of calls here. On our toll-free line, you're on the air with Robert Monroe. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Washington.
Okay. Do you have a question? We have a lot of time here.
I would like to know whether Mr. Monroe first learned about this technology.
Okay. We've kind of covered that, I would say, but Mr. Monroe, a quick answer?
Quick answer. When I learned about it, I found about it the hard way. I'm the monkey that fell out of the tree. Put it that way. And I had to figure a way to get back up into the tree.
So really, through a personal experience, it began all by itself. You set out on a quest to learn what was happening to you.
Exactly. Out of necessity, as a matter of fact. And one of the most surprising things that has indeed come up in recent years that back in those early days, I had an exquisite amount of help. And even today, I cannot assure anyone back of where that help came from.
One has to wonder, Mr. Monroe, how many people worldwide are going through exactly what you went through, perhaps without the support system that you luckily had nearby. Mr. Monroe, we're going to break here for the news at the top of the hour and come back and open up the phone lines.
All right.
All right. Very good. Robert Monroe from the Monroe Institute, a very unique opportunity to talk with a researcher who has been there. We'll be back.